Here's the thing. All right, we're live, friends. We're live. Worst case scenario, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave it to Goots, and we're just gonna be like, all right, tell us the second on our list story.
Oh God.
That'll take up
I
like the
didn't mentally
whole.
prepare for telling this
That'll take
story
up
today,
the
but I'm
whole
ready.
stream. What do you mean you didn't mentally prepare? You literally said that was your strat. Is that when we did the
I got you.
podcast, you were gonna be like, yeah, fam, we're gonna do the second on my list story. So that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen at some point. You have to do it. You have to do it. But hello,
Okay.
friends. We are here with the most disorganized podcast of all time. You see, we got people. Tell me if you guys can see everybody. Hopefully, you can see everybody. We also got the Warbucks and the D fam. We got the pictures of them doing things. But we're here, and we're gonna talk about Destiny. I am the greatest host you've ever seen in your entire life. But we got peoples here, so we'll go ahead and introduce everybody. So we'll start at the top left with Mr. Hashtag C Double Duke himself. So if you have anything you want to say, go ahead and start us off, Mr. C Double G. So what do the people want to hear from you?
So y'all ready? Y'all
Yeah,
ready for this?
I'm ready.
Hi, I'm C Double G. I am the Duke of PS4, and Duke is cool is the C Dub of Xbox.
Let's go.
And we come together on the podcast to become C Double Duke.
Let's
We do
go,
all the raid
dude.
helps and all the PvE helps, and we just here to game and chat and vibe with all of you guys today. And I'm excited as hell. Let's go.
Let's go. We're gonna shout out again. If you guys don't follow any of these people, they're amazing. We got a shout out for Mr. C Double G. Make sure you click that link, follow that man. Amazing. Second on my list, as always, is Mr. Goots on my right here. So Goots, what do you have to say for yourself, sir?
My name is Goots. You may have seen me in the chat. If you're here, chat, you know who I am. New Light. Been playing Destiny 2 for about 6 months. Stream a variety of things, and I'm here to give a noob's perspective.
Let's go. I think you're pretty pro, dude. I don't know. I've seen all I know. This guy says he's a noob, but his like first ever Leviathan was a flawless. I'm just saying, chat. Don't second, whatever it is, you know. All right, we're gonna go back to the bottom left. The raid goddess, the goddess of everything herself, Miss Malorny. She's here. What do you got to say? You're muted. You're-
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Al,
Yes.
and I'm a potato, and I do stuff on Destiny.
And she's way, 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 way too what's the word? What's the word? Humble. But seriously, you guys know
Modest.
Mal. She's amazing, modest, humble, all great words. But thank you for being here, Mal. We got next on the list, Warbucks, the #2 Fractaline donator in the world, the solo flawless already, like 2 days into the frickin' dungeon, man, and he does crazy things. So Warbucks, what would you like to say?
Nothing.
Nothing. All right, that sounds like Warbucks. At least, see, Warbucks. What I appreciate most about you is that you're always yourself, and you know that's what we're gonna do. We got a shout out for Mr. Dathan Warbucks. You guys should know him. And then last but absolutely not least, we got the other half of D&D, Mr. Defon. And go ahead, sir. Love this man.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, people are here. I didn't
Yes.
think anybody would tune in. I don't even know.
Wow,
I mean,
big
I
set.
think most of
Wow.
you all know that I ride Duke's coattails, and that's all you need to know. Sweet.
That is not true whatsoever at all. We love Mr. Defon. He's this man. 40. How long did your stream end up going the other day? 42 hours.
40 hours and
40
like 15 minutes. or
40
something.
hour stream. I'm a little disappointed you didn't beat the 43, but you know.
Well, I was being responsible.
So that's probably a good thing.
Sounds
That's
funny
probably
after saying 40-hour stream, but
that's probably a
I'll
positive.
just break it next weekend. Fine. whatever.
Right. All right. So now that that's all over, we got plenty of things to discuss, all planned, all calculated. Everybody's ready to discuss these things. But first of all, I mean, how do you guys feel? And we'll kind of go around. Whoever wants to jump in first. How do you guys feel about the the reveals we got on Tuesday? We obviously got the new season stuff that came in. We got to play some of that stuff. We've got the fact that Bungie has basically told us 3 years in advance. We got the big DLC. We got Beyond Light coming in September. We got Witch Queen coming next year. We got Lightfall coming the year after. Like the fact that they have that all planned out ahead of time is pretty cool. But yeah, what do you guys? Anyone have any thoughts on the new stuff or what they want to see or anything? Or Vault of Glass? We had a lot of crazy stuff. Anything about that we'd like to talk about?
I mean, I can go. I think
All right, go ahead.
we started talking about this actually as soon as the Activision split happened, right? The Destiny was going to have a chance to see the game played the way they wanted it played. Now, a lot of people have experienced the downtime since that happened, but I think you know as well as I do. We talked about how I thought this fall is what they was targeting all along.
Right.
They were looking at a 10-year plan for Destiny 2 originally, and now that they're not with Activision, they don't have to force out Destiny 3. So now we get the reveal. that as messed up as all the stories have been all this time, they are finally starting to tie back in piece by piece. How they're going to fix all the wrongs they've done, I don't know if they can. But you start to see the Stranger back, you start to see the Nine, the Emissary, all the Drifter stuff. Now, to get 3 years of information ahead of time to me is amazing because generally speaking, we know, oh, there's going to be a DLC this fall or whatever. Not only did they come out and tell us what they're going to do with Beyond Light, with the Witch Queen, with Lightfall, they also came out and said, we're going to do things the way we want. And that means rotating planets out, rotating different playlists out so we can remove 50 or 60 gigs from the game, bring in 40 to 50 new. And then also, you know what? It takes a little bit of effort to do with all of this, but we're going to make it even better because, this expansion lasts for a year. So maybe April, we're going to bring back Vault of Glass and it's going to be changed a little bit from what you remember so that you can play it. And that way people on PC can experience who didn't play Destiny 1. And we're going to bring back some of your favorite strikes. People farmed Omnigul for hours on end for the Grass of Malik. And we're going to bring back some more of this stuff. We're going to sunset weapons because you keep talking about how you want new weapons to play with. Okay, we're going to get rid of the OP stuff, which allows them to introduce new stuff that's OP, such as Wither Horde. Granted, it's broken. And to continue to do that.
One-shotting isn't normal? It's like
So-
one-shot everything?
Obviously it's bugged, but in general, the gun, even not bugged, is great for ad clear.
Mhm.
You shoot it on the ground or whatever, it's just fun to play with, but it's going to get them a chance to do a lot of that stuff. I honestly think, even with as forthcoming as they were, that we are barely seeing the tip of the iceberg of what they're going to do. I think it's a real turning point for the game, and for me personally, when I got into Destiny 1, it was the first time that I was sick with cancer, and the game saved my life. And for all this information to be coming out about during the time that I am struggling with now, that is well aware to anybody who follows me, is the perfect time because it's going to give me personally something to sink myself and reinvest myself back into as I grow as a person and as a gamer. And as all of the great communities that we're a part of continue to grow. And I think that's a big part of what's even left unseen from the reveal is the social aspect of the people we get to meet because of it. And I'm just super excited for what the rest of the next 3 years is going to be under the content that they have talked about.
That was great.
See, a lot of people keep coming at me with this cautiously optimistic bullcrap.
Hey, that's me.
And-
You can at me, dude. You can at me. It's fine.
But like, I don't think that's very fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I personally don't like that Vault of Glass is coming back, but there is a lot of promising things that are coming from Destiny with the new subclasses. Because we've seen what they did the last time we got new subclasses or new supers or whatever. That was Forsaken, which was an incredible DLC. But they already have a plan for everything that's coming. But I do want to just touch on that. I don't like the fact that Vault of Glass is coming back because I don't think it's going to transfer very well onto D2 from D1 because things were a lot different in D1. You didn't even have mantling in D1. So like the changes, they would have to make a lot of changes to Vault of Glass, which I don't even think it's going to play the same, and I think people aren't going to like it. I don't think I'm going to like it. But
Fair. That's
I just
I mean, I agree with
that
that.
in there.
I'm all for that, given that I've on multiple occasions said I don't care for them bringing stuff back. I leave the past in the past, let stuff come up new. But even like, let's say Vault comes back, right, and they do change enough to make it play well, and they do bring back Fatebringer and
But we
all the
have
other guns.
Fatebringer already. People keep bringing that up
Right.
too. We have Fatebringer already. It's
Right.
just
On
in a
top of that,
secondary
even if they
slot.
bring it back, even
Are
if
they
they
gonna
bring
put it in the
back,
kinetic
it's not going to
slot?
feel
Like-
the same probably.
Right. No, for sure. And are they going to put it in the kinetic slot and make it like exotic and then have like still
Right.
make it arc or like kind of how they did at the end of D1? Like that's a really good question. Are they going to even bring back the same weapons? Are they going to bring new weapons? Are they going to do a little bit of both? I mean, again, for me personally, I'm definitely excited about Vault of Glass coming back, just mainly because we at least know that there's not going to be like this year where it's like one raid in September, we get nothing the rest of the year. I mean, we got the dungeon this season, which was unexpected and awesome. But I'm just excited to have. I think it's like a good compromise versus one raid or like two like kind of raids or whatever. But instead, hopefully they can have one big cool gangbusters raid in September, and then bring back a favorite again, even if it's not the same. And I think that's even a positive in some ways, where it's not going to play exactly the same. We get new weapons, we get new things, and I mean, for someone on Goots, if you want to potentially touch on this after, Goots or a lot of people didn't play D1 or have only ever played PC, so they have never experienced some of these D1 raids. So I think like that, at least for me, and I'm sure at least for some of your heart, C-Dub, is for those of us that like love helping other people, getting them to experience something that they haven't yet, is a really cool thing, at least in my book. But yeah, no, I'm definitely excited about Vault. I'm more excited about the new raid in September. But raids, I'm excited about raids. I like raids. But yeah.
Yeah, for me, first of all, the new season is freaking awesome compared to previous season, which is the first season that I played. I feel like the progression through the new season is just a lot smoother and then a lot more rewarding. It's not just like collecting random bits from some activities but not others, and by chance, because I know Duke and I were trying to get me the Almighty title, and freaking we were running Reckoner and Strikes, and Duke got like 300 bits and I had got like 24 in like 2 hours of running Strikes.
Hey man, you don't want to play like 2,000 hours of Strikes to get them? And,
no,
yeah,
not really,
the thing is, it was crazy because I was getting him every single time, and this guy, the one who actually needed it, got like one time. Go ahead, sorry.
Got it like one time, and like it was just to progress each bunker, which was kind of an arbitrary thing that was then going away, sort of. So it's really nice to have the progression be purely based around the character. So that for me has been pretty awesome with this new season roll around and all the announcements that they made. Even though I haven't played D1, a lot of it seems really exciting, and a lot of people keep talking about like Vault of Glass and King's Fall or whatever it's called in a bunch of the old D1 raids, and they're saying like
Wrath of the
that it's like
Machine.
a real proper raid, and the only thing that's really comparable in D2 is Last Wish, which is in itself a really fun raid. So I'm excited to see what they do with it, especially since I get to experience it, and then to see how the people that I play with, how they compare it to how it used to be and what the differences are, and to see how they feel about that. So that's the most exciting thing for me, is just to, hop on the train and actually be a part of it now.
Yeah.
People are comparing D1 raids to Last Wish.
King's
I know
Fall.
that-
Tell you.
King's
that
Fall
last-
and Last Wish, kind of like, I compare that too sometimes, where it's like those are to me like the most like quote raidy raids in terms of many multiple encounters, multiple bosses. Like they feel like actual like raid quote layers, not raid layer like short raid, like raid layer like that's a layer like a boss layer, and you're kind of like going deep into the boss's home, if you will. So personally, I do compare Last Wish and King's Fall kind of similarly in that regard.
I feel like people don't give Leviathan enough credit.
I don't like
was a-
Leviathan.
I love Livy.
I don't know why
Leviathan's
people don't.
awesome.
So I
I'm
have
cool with Leviathan, but then something like Eater of Worlds exists, and it's like
See, but
a
that's
fun
a different
encounter, but it's
thing,
like a
though.
strike, not
Right,
really.
no, so we're not
Mhm.
talking about Eater of Worlds. We're talking about the Leviathan raid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It had 4 parts on this big ass ship where you can go inside of it and also get the secret chest. But you also had 4 different unique encounters that didn't have nothing to do with the last one, like all the other raids that we've been getting, which you get taught an encounter here, like you get taught a mechanic, then you use that mechanic and bring it over to this encounter, and then you learn another part of that same mechanic, and then you bring all
I
those
like
parts
that,
of the
though.
mechanic. I hate that.
I think that's good
I
design.
know,
I think that's good for the dungeon, right? You got the boat mechanic
Mhm.
throughout the whole dungeon, and that progress. I think that's cool for the dungeon, but for a raid, I like it being completely unique.
I
in
don't
each
even
one.
like it in the dungeon. It's the only mechanic.
Well, yeah, the dungeon was a little. I think
I
the dungeon
agree
was a
with
little
you,
bit.
But I think that's the only place for something like that.
No,
is like
I can agree with that too, but I'm on your side. I don't like the fact that
Mhm.
most raids that we've got now, like you've got the tether mechanic all of Garden, you've got
Yeah.
the buffs the entire time through Crown. Like I
Mhm.
agree, I hate it. It's
Mhm.
annoying.
Yeah, I like the uniqueness of Leviathan, where each encounter is different. Each encounter you have to learn a brand new mechanic, and you don't have to,
Mhm.
copy and paste it over. I like that because
Mhm.
it feels new every single time you get into something. It's not like, oh, we still have this, so we know we have to do with this. Now we just have to add something to it. I don't feel like that's challenging at all. That's why these raids are being beaten so fast. Last Wish wasn't beaten very fast because everything was different and new. And I give that to Last Wish
That's
because
fair.
there wasn't the same thing except for the heart.
I mean,
Like
Yeah,
not the heart. but,
Last
like,
Wish had some, it built on, that the gun mechanic where, in Cali or in Shiro, you could use it to reset. the boss for longer DPS, and Morgith you
that
could use it
was
to
fun.
reset the boss for a longer DPS and also to cleanse, and then it also cleansed in the vault. Like I think that's actually a good point. Like again, I think the dungeon went way too far, even for a dungeon in terms of like this is the only mechanic. Like you learn it in the first encounter, and it's not like you really even added on to anything. Like you literally did the same thing in every
Yeah.
single encounter. But I like the fact that you learn something and then build on it. Like even in Vault of Glass, the original raid, you learned how to step on the plates and protect the plates, and then that came back at the towards the end in the gatekeepers. You learned how to protect the confluxes. You learned about oracles, and then they came back towards the end. Like they brought back, like you learned something and brought it back at some point later, but it wasn't just one mechanic. I feel like that's a little different. And Mal's turned green. What happened now? She's back.
You never just turn into a leprechaun. Jeez.
No.
Like get the luck of the Irish thrown through you.
I do have a sort of a side question. Does anyone want to talk about anything else what we're on now? But otherwise, I
The
do
only
have
thing
a...
I want to add, as far as like, because I get like people being like, oh, I don't really like Vault of Glass coming back or whatever. The two positives for that out of me, aside from the raid, are it's content that is going to take them very little work to fill in time where they're getting to the Witch Queen, for example.
Mhm.
That's going to give us things to do, number one. And number two, they said it themselves, dropping the number from the game, and they're bringing some things forward, obviously not everything, to give us that one world fill. And that's going to mean the end of Destiny 1 server soon. It's going to be the end of whatever, but I feel like it just makes the game more to do in the game, and the game more of a one world feeling than to having still. I get that they're two separate games, but when you play WoWs or whatever, it's 30 expansions of the same game or whatever, but it's built all on the same base. And this is all, I just feel like any content that doesn't take them much to do, that gives us things to do, because we all know that April and the summertime is going to be slow, unless they completely change how they've worked in the past 6 years. Then having anything to do, I feel like, is a positive, and I don't think it's going to play the same at all. But I get not wanting the recycled raids or the recycled content. I just think there's a lot of silver linings to that.
I'm just partial to the world's first part. I think world's first is like the most exciting time of Destiny period for any raid, and you put in another raid that we already done, you take that away,
You
and
can change it
that's
though, little ways, and it's still there.
there will be no first belt or anything for Vault of Glass. Like
Yeah,
there
it's
is no
fair.
credibility.
mean,
But it's still like it's still an experience. Like
It's still,
even when they
and
brought
again,
back
we
the
don't know what
three.
they will have changed or anything
380s.
yet either. Just because it's the Vault of Glass doesn't mean it's going to work the same way it did in D1.
There's also always
But I
going to
get
be the
your
world's first mentality though, because like look at the 390 versions when they came out at the end of D1. Like those were still raced for very competitively.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we
but-
raced them, we enjoyed
And
it.
I get your point, C-Dub. I do get your
No, I
point that it's
agree.
it's nowhere near the same thing, and I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with that at all. But I do think that that competitiveness is always going to be there. Like even without a belt, you're gonna want to be the team that's like, I was the first one to beat it in D2 though.
Mhm.
Like
Hmm.
Sure. I mean, honestly, the world's first competitiveness, and maybe I'm wrong, but for me, that's why I don't like Leviathan that much. Like, I'll raid and I'll play it, but my day one experience, even though we, quote, finished really well, was literally the worst experience I've ever had in my life. And so it
mean-
left a sour taste on the raid. Not necessarily the
Right.
raid itself, but I don't think I can fairly judge it because of the experience I had the first time I played it.
Yeah, you really shouldn't like because that's the world like that's a day one experience that you had from Leviathan, which is what 5 raids ago. Like even me, and when Leviathan first came out, I was a toxic LFG 25 plus clear type of dude. Like zero Sherpa,
Gjallarhorn
zero
only.
anything. Like if you didn't know what to do in this raid day 2, I was kicking you from my fire team. Like that was me and Leviathan, and I was on Xbox. Like
Whoa, this
I'm
man
on-
is like backwards.
Yeah,
I was like backwards
I
C-Dub
was
time.
literally the opposite person. Like
Mhm.
so, like I don't think that's fair of you to judge the Leviathan based on the one day one experience that happened.
I mean, maybe not,
3
but it
years
wasn't one day
ago?
for me. It changed my entire life.
Right.
It changed everybody that I was around at that time.
Mhm.
It goes a lot deeper than just the game itself.
Okay,
Trust
that's
me, I had
fair, then.
shitty
That's
experience
fair.
in a lot of other day ones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But and that's part of it.
That's,
Not
That's
that that's fair of me to judge it that way, but that is why
Mhm.
it's hard for me to give it a fair shake.
I understand.
it's totally fair.
I love Leviathan. I think it's such a good raid though, and it's like the only raid that actually have like a prestige mode with different types to the thing. I love that, and I
So I
just
feel
wish
like-
you would do more of that.
Yeah, I didn't
That's
spend
why I
14
feel
hours
like-
on Bass and Prestige. That's all I know.
Well, I guess I have 2 points that we can go from there. So I mean, yeah, Leviathan, I definitely agree is it's the only raid quote similar to D1 in that it's a real hard mode. Like it's just like D1 hard
Mhm.
modes where they add mechanics back in. They make it more difficult. I mean, obviously they added like the token mechanic, which wasn't in D1, which was good and bad. Like I didn't really like the fact that there was the 30 seconds. Otherwise, you just insta wipe. Like I really like the. And I feel like we maybe talked about this on the Guardian Royale, or I talked about this at some point where it was. I missed the hero moments where that took it away. Having the 30
Yeah.
seconds to res someone, the hero moments are gone. But I was also someone, and DFan will attest to this, where I ran with people that were like, okay, go jump off the map for Wrath of the Machine, like that. I definitely
Yeah.
we did that all the time. It wasn't
Do
necessarily
you
my
want
choice.
your loot, or do you
But
want to be here forever?
right, exactly. So it's like that. It's a mix. And that's not fun for anybody. And again, for me now, as someone who quote leads the raids rather than just helps with the raids, I definitely would never want to do that or do that. But there's a mix there. Yeah. I have another question that is off of this that I'd like to talk about. But if anyone has any last things on this, let me know.
Bro, you're in a Discord call with 6 people that raid a lot. We could talk about this for
Yeah,
later.
we could. That's true. That's true. We'll
I do
right.
have
We
other
could.
things, bro.
We
Episode
could
one.
stay on this forever, right? Okay. But what I'd
Yeah.
like,
You just
to
tell us
talk.
when you want us to
Right.
move on.
We'll move on. We'll slightly move on because I want to address something here. This is going to be directed a lot towards Mal actually. Is and kind of what you said. I know you love Leviathan. I know you love Spire. I know you love those raids. How do you feel, and how does everybody feel about the fact that those are going to be gone? Like they're
I would be super sad. Like I love Spire. Spire's my baby. Leviathan was baby. Like those are the raids I taught. Those are the raids I did guided games of. Like I loved helping on those because they were so easy to bring new people through, and that they're disappearing is heartbreaking. I'm gonna miss them.
right.
But are they actually disappearing, or are they
Yes.
going into the vault?
Well,
and
they're
then-
going into the
Well,
vault.
they're
They might bring
back.
him. They'll probably bring him back at some point for sure. But I mean, again, for me, losing a planet that we go to once or twice, obviously it's important when we first get it. But how many times do we go back to IO to go do a public? I mean, yeah, we did last season with the ball
That's biased
throwing.
opinion. This is biased opinion from you though, because you are a raider versus somebody
Right.
who you're not somebody who plays this game. You're somebody who raids in this game.
That's fair.
You do have a very skewed opinion.
I
on
do.
this.
I definitely do. But is there and to be fair too,
How could
D1.
you go back and play Leviathan though?
That's true too.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Leviathan raids are awesome.
I'm just saying the
But
player base in general, though.
it's not even necessarily that. It's more the value of the content. Like, how is there really that big of a difference between if I want to go to IO and do some patrols or do whatever's on IO and then go to Nessus or go to Earth? Or is there that big? I mean, it looks different. There's a couple different public events maybe on each planet, or there's there's different lost sectors, but every lost sector is kind of the same. But is there anything meaningfully different in terms of just patrolling? Obviously IO has the Whisper mission and things like that, which losing that too is another thing I think that's going to kind of suck. But losing that meaningfully different and important content I think kind of sucks. Losing the planets themselves. Meh.
See, for me, I'm willing to hold out judgment based on the fact that I don't know what all they have in the works, and do I like those raids and like to play them? Sure, but if it means more new and fresh and better content that they can put into the game because they have the space for it, I'm all for them vaulting them for a while. Not to mention, we had mentioned Vault of Glasslow, but I said, if something with minimal work they can bring back. If those raids being vaulted, why they give us bigger stuff is what they do, and then they have a period of time where they need a little bit of time, and they could bring those back somehow changed or quote hard moded or whatever for very little work, then that's a possible thing too. But also, if they're vaulted forever and they come back, more people are going to want to play them when they come back. If we've been playing all the new stuff, there's nothing to do. They've been gone a while. Oh shit! Look what they brought back this week. Let's go play these raids for a little bit. And I think it will actually give them more replayability by taking them away, because of the fact that, for the most part, unless you're coming up through New Light or something right now, people just don't really go back and play those raids enough to warrant the space that it is eating up when they can fill that space with new and better things.
Well, that's Bungie's fault, though, right? We have no reason to go back into those raids if we've done them enough times and we got the
Yeah, I don't disagree with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too with them, like since we like all our hardcore raiders have done them so much, like since year one, but it's so many new people who think it's such a cool raid that like want to do it, but they can't find people because no one plays it. So it's like definitely a good raid that people want to do. They just don't have like the people for it.
I don't. Do they want to do it? I mean, I'm on
Mm.
LFGs and forums all the damn time, just looking for what people might need, and like, not many people are looking for like Leviathans. They're either looking for like Pit of
You
Heresy
still
or
have
Goreath
that.
or
Right.
Whisper still, but I don't see many people looking for Leviathan raids. I don't know.
I guess there's like
Yeah,
a. Go ahead. Sorry.
hmm I was just gonna answer that you have them. Like I see them. I'm on LFG2 a lot on Xbox, and you still have them. Like, but they are
Maybe
mostly new
Xbox
people who
loves.
has never
Maybe
done it.
Xbox loves all the Leviathan. I
that's-
don't know. I
um,
don't know about that world.
Wow, I don't know about that Xbox, but I guess my point, and this kind of ties into a couple things we've said, right? So it's like, if we're bringing back D1 stuff to be able to kind of get the full world experience, but we're losing stuff from D2 or just losing stuff in general, then aren't we kind of, losing that full world experience? But again, I know on the other hand, adding more stuff in and just, pure logistics of having enough literal disk space is a problem. So they got to do something. The thing that I personally think would be really cool is, and kind of talking to, I believe it was DFan, kind of everybody's point, honestly, in that people don't play X, Y, or Z, like let's say Leviathan, they don't do it that much. And I think a lot of that is, there's what, 7, 8, I don't know, a lot of raids to do, and people would rather do the content that gets them a powerful drop or gets them the exotics or gets them what's newer and the people are playing more. And me personally, I definitely see sporadic people wanting to do Leviathan or X raid or Spire of Stars, Prestige or whatever else. But I think it's like a kind of like almost too much information or too many possibilities, and you have so many choices at the store. It's like 18 different brands. It's like now you got 18 different raids to do, and these are the old ones. Like, what would I rather do, the old ones or the new ones? You'd rather do the new ones. So what would be kind of cool is for these end of year events like Moments of Triumph and Solstice of Heroes, things like that, bringing back like having those literal moments of triumph. This is the moment where things can come back and they can unvault every raid for like maybe this week. This is the Leviathan week, and this is the Spire of Stars week, and this is Scourge of the Past week. Like during those couple months events at the end of the year, bringing back all of this content and kind of making it a special event. And I know people. I guess my question on this, and you can obviously add to what I'm saying, or disagree with what I'm saying, or answer the question that I have here, is doesn't this possibly add to FOMO, which everybody is constantly talking about, where it's like thing gets added and then you got to do it right now, otherwise you don't get to do it, type of thing. Like, is that different? Is that go ahead?
Here's my point on that. Here's my point of all of FOMO in this game. Any game you ever play that calls itself a live game, you're gonna have FOMO moments. Get the hell over it.
Absolutely.
Get the hell over it. It's gonna happen. You need to get over it. You need to either find the time to play when something is existing and happening through whatever you've got going on in life, or you need to just be like, you need to learn to accept it, that it's not going to happen.
Right.
I
And
think
Bungie
with
needs
the
to stop
raid,
trying
like
to please everybody too with stuff like that. Like, don't worry about it. I don't know.
I think they should do, like you said, bring back like this is the raid for this one of the thing. Like that would be solved like with people doing the old ones. If they would do powerfuls for the old ones, like a weekly thing, like a rotating thing, like you always have like the newest one maybe, and then if you did like the other ones rotating with powerful, that would be like more chance for people to do them. So that would solve a lot too,
Would be interesting
in my opinion.
to add.
Right, but then they go back to the problem at the end of year 2 where we had too many powerful solutions.
We have
Possibly,
them too
like,
now. Like those
exactly.
Umbral
Yeah.
engrams that they bought, bro. I leveled up to max power in a fucking day.
Well, to be fair, that like isn't
Those are broken,
supposed
to
to
be
work.
fair, yeah.
It's not supposed
Yeah.
to do that. It doesn't seem like.
but yes, the
but-
point, yeah.
But yeah,
Again, they're not. Again, it's hard to say they should add powerful. Like, if you're going to say that they're on a rotating basis, that's fine. But I think if they're going to do that and they ever choose to do that, they need to do it so that it literally is just one raid a week.
that would be good.
Like, you can't. I don't think you can have, like, say, Garden be a powerful and then still have a rotating raid to get
Well,
even
I
more
think
powerful.
you
stuff.
should. I think you should have the pinnacle and then the powerful, right? So like
Yeah.
those who aren't at that max level yet or
That makes
whatever
a lot of
at
sense.
hard cap can
Mhm.
still do that for powerfuls, and then you get the pinnacles from like the main raid of that season or year. or
Well, I
whatever.
like that.
And I think that would be cool too, just in terms of it's like Crucible when they kind of condensed all of the playlist. It's kind of doing the same for raids in this case, where if there's one pinnacle raid. That's what most people are going to want to do, and then maybe there's enough people for a second raid that is the powerful weekly raid that's rotating. It kind of condenses everybody into the same area rather than, again, like we were saying, if there's like all these different raids and a couple people want to run this one, a couple people want to run this one, a couple people want to run this one. I mean, this is even a thing. This is a little more directly to things I've seen either in the Discord or in chat where people are like, I want to do this raid, I want to do this. Like everybody wants to do. Everybody like not everybody wants to do raids, but people that are around this community usually want to do raids because it's it's a raiding community. But if people want to do different raids at different times, it's hard to kind of get everybody to want to do the same raid per se. Sometimes, at least, other than the main ones. But if there's a weekly one this is the week to do this raid, then it makes it a lot easier to focus on that this raid this week, this raid next week, this raid next week. And I mean, to me specifically too, that would kind of, at least for sometimes, you get burned out on just running Garden of Salvation for 28 months. Like, so it would be nice to kind of see that mix.
Can I ask a general question?
Yeah, go for it.
So,
That's illegal.
No questions. How dare you speak?
So, they added like so many pinnacle drops, right? Like to the Crucible, to the Vanguard, all that stuff.
Right.
There's just +1s instead of the +2s like the raid give. But do you guys think that they should increase the pinnacle power from +10 to something higher? I personally do, but I just want to hear everybody else's thoughts.
With
on
that
it.
many pinnacle drops, yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
absolutely.
I think it's either revert it back to how it was when Pinnacles began, or it's make the Pinnacle gap larger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually liked how it was when it began, when it was super hard to level.
Yeah.
Because it
It
gives
made
that
those drops feel more
replayability.
meaningful.
But I kind of, yeah.
But the argument was from when it started was that the duplicate thing, right? Like you keep getting the same duplicate of the same pinnacle, and you were never able to get your power level. That's why they changed it, because people hated it when it first came out. There was people complaining all over the place because they couldn't get a heavy, or they couldn't get something because they kept getting the same thing over and over again. There weren't either enough sources or enough power from pinnacles.
Yeah,
So,
but
like,
I'm part of the Forever 29 in Vault of Glass, and that never bugged me. Could never get Gauntlets to be 30, and they're, But everybody's going to have their own taste when it comes to that. Like, for me, I don't care about RNG or grind. I'm going to play the game either way, and the more reasons I have to grind any activity, the better for me.
Right.
Now, I get the consensus that most people are casuals.
Yeah, people are lazy too. Like people don't want to work hard.
That's why they're AFK in fucking Forges right now.
Yeah.
Because they're lazy.
Right. Right.
Being max light level shouldn't be something that's super easily obtainable. It should be
agree
a
with that,
grind. Like
100%.
getting up to like the powerful
Yeah.
crap, sure, that should be kind of allow the casuals to play things at a more difficult level. But to get to like that 1060, like you're at the top level, should be a grind. And the people in Destiny, I'm so surprised. Like it blows my mind that this is technically an MMO, but none of them really understand what an MMO grind is. Destiny 2 is not a grind compared to a lot of MMOs.
That's what I say all the
It's
time,
like
dude.
it's like a
It's not-
pin. It's like a pin drop
Mhm.
compared to a lot of MMOs. And so when people start to complain about the grind, like, yeah, it's tedious, but
Are you
try
telling me I
going
played
into-
Reckoning for 5 hours and didn't get a God roll spare rations, and I wrote a hate mail to Bungie, and I wasn't justified in doing so? What do you mean?
hey, Gambit is a different planet on its own.
All right.
But yeah, like the grind is not that much of a grind. Like I was 997 base light coming out of last season, and I'm already up to like 1035 on my Titan or something like that in like 3 days of playing or something like that.
Yeah, the
Like-
grind is
Right.
way too easy now, in my opinion. I agree with
Yeah,
that.
it's super easy. I was 1051 day two. Day two, I was 1051. That's already pinnacle power. Like I don't even have to touch powerfuls no more.
Right, with
Yeah,
multiple characters
yeah,
especially compare like it's just a big difference people that try to play with one character versus like, multiple.
Mm-hmm. And to touch on the previous point of FOMO, I 100% agree with Warbucks. Get over it. I mean, I missed out on like 9-10 seasons worth of content.
Right.
I mean, you
Deal
know
with
how
that.
much I've missed out on the game being sick and everything when I was going to, and okay, I missed out on events, but so what?
Life
Yeah.
life goes on. The
They
game
don't even
lives
matter
on.
anymore. Like at a certain point, you don't even go back to anything, or they just go away. Like the stupid sundial. I hated that damn thing. Like I'm
And if
so
you're scared
glad.
of us not playing more,
Right, it's
who
just all
cares?
like the kind of the
What?
same,
Mhm.
right? Like Sundial, like it all kind of felt like is that I mean it's new content, yeah, but it was like it's like stuff and
They were
like-
doing what they had to do to get by. Let's be honest.
that's fair.
Yeah, no.
Or like weapons that are missing, you know, that you can't get anymore. And I'll talk to someone like, "Oh yeah, I have this exotic that was super cool, but you can't get it anymore." I was like, "Oh, do you ever use it?" No, it's not. It's not usable anymore. Why the fuck do I care if I have it or not then?
Exactly.
Right.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not going to
Completionist
use
is
it,
about
oh,
the
I
only
have
reason.
this like imaginary box here that says I have this thing.
I mean, right. Mal, did you want to
I
add
don't know.
something?
Yeah, that's the thing though. Some of the exotics is like they just go to the vault, bro, or you get deleted, even if they're good.
Mhm.
Right. No, for that, I guess that's. I think that was kind of where I wanted to go. Whoa, not cool, not cool.
Hey, that's the
Anarchy,
A-word, Ben.
Anarchy
I don't
is
have
so
that
good.
yet.
I don't know what you're talking about, but like, I think that's kind of my bigger point in all this is like, screw powerful, screw pinnacles. Like, none of that is what should be the goal, really. Like, it's a number. It's a number. We're chasing the same number every single season, every single time. But like, most of the content like doesn't really require that number. And then even last season, it got immediately just like
Yeah.
slapped out of our hands with trials. It's like, okay, your artifact doesn't matter. Grandmaster Nightfall, your artifact doesn't matter. Like, the only content that goes up to the levels where like grinding and leveling matters, basically it's invalidated. So like, I personally feel like, screw the numbers. Like, I mean, you can have that as part of the grind, but I think the real grind should be in like getting cool and interesting things and doing cool and interesting stuff to get the thing. Like even like the Soul of Flawless dungeon. Like, it would be really cool if some of those triumphs, not necessarily Soul of Flawless, but like doing certain interesting triumphs in the game could have more than just just cosmetics. It could even add cool stuff to get in the game. And adding the best stuff into that content, rather than, I've said this about 8,000 times, but like, here's the season pass level 1 exotic that breaks the entire game. Like, what if they put that, as some really difficult to get thing, and then we got it, and then people were using it. I mean, obviously, with one shot, that should never be a thing, but like had some sort of cool effect that made it really strong. I think
It
that'd
sure
be
would make people want to go grind whatever it was to get it before it was nerfed, though, because they
Right.
had the experience of playing
Right.
with it, you know?
But then, Duke, how are they going to get my 12 Canadian dollars?
I mean, people are gonna get like. I don't think people are buying the season pass to get the exotic, right? Like, I could be wrong.
I don't know. They misnamed Witherhoard.
You can buy
Yeah.
the season pass.
Yeah.
Or like,
That's like
Levels?
well, you can do
No,
that.
no.
You can do that
You
too,
do that
but
at the end
I'm
of the season, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that
Right.
at the start.
but I'm just saying, like, because when you do this, when you get that's how you get the season pass, like the premium part on the bottom or whatever. Like, buying the season itself gives you the season pass.
mhm.
Sorry, I'm trying to do this on the fly. This was a good idea. That
see what you're doing.
yeah, trying to put names under on everybody. It's all right. You guys
I'm
don't need to know who I
I'll
am.
be back, friend.
No worries, no worries. But yeah, no. I mean, I think that's my thing. Is like the pinnacles and stuff. Like, it's a cool concept. Like, but I don't think
mean-
that same grind every time is.
I don't
cool.
disagree with you at all. But I
Right.
do think there's the two levels to that, right? There's the level where you should want the level, but you should want the level to then go do the hard stuff to get the good loot.
Mhm.
Right now, we just want the level for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 2 steps there, and then we only have step 1 at the moment.
Right, and I mean, I feel like they did a pretty good job for like the dungeon this season in terms of like they put it, at the end of the cap there at 1060, and I mean it's pretty, I mean we did it day 1, 1025 or whatever, like that's pretty hard. Like, and it was a good mix where it's like day 1 difficult because of the level, but doable, and then as you're getting stronger, it makes it easier. But I guess my question is, and at least for me so far, like, is there anything like super meaningfully cool from the dungeon that's like only from the dungeon? Like, I don't even really know what the drops are yet. Like, I've just kind of played, like, I haven't really been paying attention to like what you can get from what thing. But it's not like, at least as far as I know, there's no like exotic from the dungeon. There's no like super cool
Yeah.
one-off legendary.
yet.
Like, yeah, there could be like another Xenophage
Well,
hidden
there
thing.
will be like
There-
the eye stuff.
Yeah,
that's in
you're
there,
1,000%.
like,
It's going to be another
100%
Wish Ender
going to
situation. You're
be-
going to get something
exactly.
from the dungeon to do those with.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
Mhm.
That's fair. Hopefully we'll see that for sure then. Because that makes a
That
lot
would
of
be
sense.
cool.
Mm-hmm. EP
Like with
gears
eggs and
dungeon.
stuff.
Yeah, no, that'd be super duper cool. I know I saw a question from somebody earlier. Let me go back and find it. I think it was Owen, I believe. But he asked again, kind of going back to the whole losing some planets, losing some content. Like, for me, and I've said this a lot in terms of PvE, like, kind of the baseline gameplay of this game is strikes. Like, I think that's like, the entry point of playing the game. Like, it kind of teaches you how to shoot enemies with some limited mechanics, but it's like, match made. And I think the strikes are a really cool, like, core part of Destiny, in my opinion. And he asked, losing, I believe he said 7 strikes from just all the fact that we're losing all those planets. Like, how do you guys feel about, losing that many strikes? I mean, we're going to have very few left. How many are we going to get added back? Do we even care? Like, I mean, obviously, I know there's been a lot of talk about, adding more reasons to play strikes. Again, kind of in that same point of, like, is a powerful and a pinnacle really, like, that meaningful? It's, again, just chasing numbers rather than chasing loot. D1 had the skeleton keys where you could get strike-specific loot. How do you guys feel about, again, losing the strikes, and do we need more reasons to play old ones and or new ones that may be coming?
I've never been a big fan of running strikes. I like, in D2.
Mhm.
In D1, I liked them a lot because the strikes were all pretty unique within their own right. Like the brothers strike, like the Cabal brothers, that was like my favorite strike ever.
That was super
And-
cool,
A
except
great
for when it
strike,
was
yeah.
like, if you're in the
Solar
air in
burn,
solar, like,
like-
and then
Yeah,
it like one
yeah,
shot you,
that
dude. Like,
yeah,
but see, those
exactly.
are the cool like moments though, right? Like, you remember that,
Yeah.
even if it was like, super stupid at the time. It's like, this
You wanted
sucks,
the game to
dude.
put the fear of God in you. It's fine.
Right, exactly. It's like,
exactly. Those were fun. I feel like D2 doesn't have any of that. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I don't think D2 has any of that. And strikes are just completely just speed ran through every single time, unless you're doing a Grandmaster Nightfall. Even 1030s, you're just farming materials. You're just speed running through them. There is nothing. There's nothing. It's just running through, killing as you know you have to kill this to progress. So you ignore everything else. You kill that, you progress. There's nothing in these strikes at all worth playing, even just for the actual playing part of it. I don't think there's any part of D2 strikes that has that. And I mean, I'm excited for them to bring D1 strikes back, so maybe we can get that again. But I don't know. I'm just not a fan of D2 strikes. So if you want to get rid of them, get rid of them. Like, I don't like them at all.
I can agree with C-Dub on this. I don't like doing strikes. I do them for like the Brightness bounties or like my weekly stuff, or when it was like the pinnacle grind, like for the weapon. But
Mhm.
otherwise, it's like me.
It's a disconnect play. You're not really thinking. You're just doing. Like it
Mhm.
doesn't
I kinda like
require
that,
any
right?
attention whatsoever. And
Same.
it's cool because I know for you, Duke, you can just run them and start your
shoot
stream
stuff.
off like that, and you can
Shoot
like,
stuff
talk
and
to
hang
everybody
out,
in
right?
chat. Yeah, so for that kind of stuff, it's good. But as in terms of like content, it's the equivalent of like an AFK farm in another MMORPG. You just kind of do it
Mhm.
without even thinking about it. It is just for the bounties. It is just for the weeklies.
Mhm.
That's about it.
Yeah, you do
Yeah.
that, put on a Netflix show on another screen, and just freaking.
I know, but
Yeah.
I think there's room for that type of content, right? Where it's just kind of chill, shoot stuff. And then, I mean, we do have the ordeals now that have kind of scaled up the strikes. I mean, again, I think for me at least, a lot of the problem is the fact that we don't get that many new ones. We had 2 new ones last September. Since then, we haven't gotten any. And before that, we got I think 1 or 2 new ones in Forsaken. Like, we're getting 1 or 2 new strikes a year. Some of the strikes from the original, D2 launch, we've been playing for 3 years, and that's like the ones we get most. It feels like, Exodus Crash, and like, people don't want to play that anymore. Like, I mean, again, for me, I just enjoy shooting enemies. Like, going into Destiny, shooting enemies. That's what I love about strikes. You just go in, shoot the dudes, don't have to think about anything. Like, I can run it solo, I can run it with a couple friends, doesn't matter. Like, it's all super cool and super chill. And then, they added the fact that there's, the higher scaling, more difficult additions to the strikes. Again, I think a lot of the talk we've had in terms of Grandmasters is like, is that meaningfully worth it? I think what was really cool to me about Grandmasters was the fact that it kind of it added a lot of detail to the strikes. Like, again, something, let's say, like Broodhold, I ran maybe like 4 times ever, because I think it was like a PS4 exclusive before or something. But I ran like 4 times ever before it came out as the Grandmaster. So I didn't really even understand how the strike worked. When you're doing the Grandmaster, you learn, like, okay, this is where the spawn is. These are the enemies I need to kill. These are the biggest threats. This is like the build I need to use. Like, I think that's like a really cool, like, it kind of adds depth to the strike. It's almost like, again, D1 hard mode made a very different experience than a D1 normal mode raid. Like, it was almost like a new raid. Obviously, the same area, same enemies, just harder enemies and more things getting added to it. I feel like Grandmaster kind of did the same thing. Again, I know a lot of people have talked about, just there's no rewards. And I think for me, and I know C-Dub was like the original one that I heard say this, and I agreed with it 100%, is there's no reward for running one. It's either you ran all of them or you basically got nothing. You could get 10, 30 rewards, but you spent 3 times as long, and basically, you know, had a heart attack doing it. Like it's super intense and super crazy. Like it's not worth it to do just one. But again, I think doing all 6, I think the title is really cool. Yeah, guys, go ahead on anything feeling.
And I think the biggest difference for me from strikes from D1 to D2 is the same thing that I talk about with raids and everything. And it's just the loot system's broken.
Mhm.
In D1, maybe you farmed Omnigul for 5 hours to get, or more, to get your Grass of Malik. Maybe you farmed up your skeleton keys to go in because you wanted a particular helmet from the whatever, the Dark Blade or whatever. And none of the strikes really have any cool gears or guns that make it worth playing anyway. So when you go in there and there's nothing really to do, nothing you really want from that strike besides 2 token and a blue, like it's
Most
like,
rewarding public event
what's the
ever.
and I just miss being able to do that. Even like, I mean, you know, in D1 I did multiple times where I did 100 strikes in a day, testing loot drops, turning in
I did
keys
the
because
runs with
the
you that
loot
one
was
time.
worth it, or whatever.
Like
What
50.
the Imago loot farm that people did, like there's just literally nothing to farm the strikes for, so it takes literally any reason to play it out of it. And I mean, I miss that stuff. I miss even farming the damn House of Wolves before it came out to get the keys built up for treasures and all that kind of stuff. There's just, they let some of that stuff go that I feel like was intricate to making some of the things feel as good for us as it did in Destiny 1.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that just all loops back into the problem of the game at hold right now, which is just loot at a baseline is just not good.
That's just the
I think that's
biggest
right.
problem.
Yeah, the
of
loot
is
Destiny
pretty
the
bad.
loot incentive, like the game has nothing to go for anymore.
It's just that level incentive again, right? There's just the constant wheel, the hamster wheel of, you know, okay, now we upped at 50 levels, now we upped at 50 levels, now we upped at 50 levels. Did we ever actually get like anything interesting during those 50 levels? I mean, there's little things, you know, like Felwinter's Lie was pretty cool, but I mean, that was like a quest line that, you know, it wasn't difficult in any way other than, you know, doing the 9 million public events, which, you know, I did one literally like 2 minutes before we were done. That's literally all I did. Like,
call, I'm just gonna.
Right. No. But like, I feel like that type of cool stuff should come from, you know, doing something meaningful rather than 9 million public events as a community. I think the community concept is a cool thing, and, you know, having stuff come from that is a cool thing. But I don't know. I just feel like, you know, the constant, and for me, and I mean, we could even have this go into another question. How do you guys feel about sunsetting, but then just bringing back the same weapons? You know, like this season, you know, we've seen all the EP weapons are back, but like with random rolls. I mean, it's a little different, you know, with random rolls being added to some of these old weapons, but I feel like I've seen, I could be wrong, but I feel like I've seen weapons, I think even like Bad Omens is one where it's, you know, you could rebuy it from the Drifter. It's the same gun, same rolls, like it was already random rolls, but like you have to like reacquire it, the same weapon, even though like I like, to me sunsetting made sense if they were gonna like bring back again like random roll weapons that didn't have random rolls, or just new weapons. If they're just gonna sunset weapons but then bring back the exact same weapons with basically the exact same rolls, like that's not meaningful. That's not interesting at all. Like I don't.
Yeah, when I
don't know.
caught on to that, I'm like, oh, y'all just literally trying to get rid of Mountaintop and Recluse. Like that's what you're
Right?
trying to do.
That's-
Like you're literally targeting the pinnacle weapons only.
Mhm.
Which is
Like,
fine.
that's
The Pinnacles
all
should.
they're
I think we
doing.
can all agree the Pinnacles should have never
I
existed.
agree.
None of the Pinnacles
Like,
should exist
no,
in this
I
game.
wouldn't say they shouldn't exist, but they shouldn't. They should be the ones being focused on sunsetting. But I think they were, because you can't disagree that they weren't fun to use. They were.
I mean,
100%
that's the problem though.
fun
They
to
were
use.
only ever fun to use because they were Pinnacle, but that's the point, right? There was no choice
Mhm.
when you had them on the field. There is no choice.
Right. And that's why they need to be making either more variety or shit that's not that damn strong, or like, you know.
But that's also like
Right.
loot, like normal guns just don't do anything in this game anymore, which is
Yeah.
trash. Like primaries in this game are awful compared to
Yeah.
primaries in D1.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, terrible,
Mhm.
terrible. I mean, I think part of what you might be seeing with the weapons, so like the Bad Omens and stuff right now, is that they literally just couldn't infuse 400 guns into the season. Not that they couldn't, but they just didn't. So they're giving a little bit of stuff to grind because people want stuff to reacquire. I don't think that any of these guns are going to be lasting for any amount of time. I know that you can take them up to 1360, but, and I could be way wrong in this, I truly believe that once the fall hits and there's just a huge influx in everything that they're putting in the game, that people aren't going to give a shit that their Bad Omens is 1360 or
Very-
whatever the
think you're
case
right.
may be.
That's
I think
fair.
you might
Like
be right.
this is kind of being a season, and you know, like they're putting more work and putting, saving more weapons for the expansion. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I think. I mean, give you something to grind to use for day one raids and stuff. People are going to want all kinds of different weapons anyway that aren't mountaintop recluse, but I think it's literally just placeholders. Here, we're throwing this in here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. They're just leaving it there so we have something that we can still use on other seasons. But as those seasons get, like, as we get to the, like, once we hit the 1360 mark, from there on, we're probably gonna have a whole damn arsenal. of new
Slew.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
we're probably gonna have so much new stuff by the time we get to 1360. So I think you're right. Actually, makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, I believe Mark had a pretty good question here, and this is kind of going back to if they're bringing back old raids like Vault of Glass and potentially any of the other raids. How do we feel about? And this could actually be. I think I saw a question about it, kind of in relation to the D2 raids that we're losing. But how do you guys feel about like raid exotics in general? Maybe we could talk about a lot of things in this, but whatever you feel most passionate about in terms of losing these old raids. You maybe like how are we going to get Legend of Acreus now, or how are they going to do that? How are we going to get Anarchy? Or Terabel, like if I think those raids are getting removed as well. Do we think that they're going to bring back Vex Mythoclast or any of the other like Touch of Malice if they bring back Kingsfell type of stuff? Do we like Divinity and a quest based puzzle? I mean, this is a very long question, but again, feel free to attack it anyway. Do we like Divinity puzzle versus RNG? Or like how does anyone feel about those types of things? Any impassioned pleas?
I mean, for me, yeah, I think Vex is coming back. Yeah, I think Touch of Malice comes back if those raids come back.
Mhm.
As far as Divinity, fuck a gun that you can do the raid once ever and have the exotic for that raid. I
hate
think
that.
that's stupid.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to make a quest line and puzzle line to where it takes me several raids or several activities to get it, then that's all good. But literally for somebody coming and be like, I never did the raid, but I also have this Divinity thing. Okay, here, plug it in. By the way, I still don't understand what's going on in this raid, and hey, I have this cool exotic that's one of the few pretty good usable exotics in the game. And it's like, I understand maybe people don't like RNG or whatever, but what do you have to chase? If you didn't have I mean, people are still chasing Anarchy, right? Because the drop was so low and they want to go
Mhm.
get it.
Mhm.
That's such a good
Well,
weapon.
what
right?
reason do they have to play Garden of Salvation? They ain't getting a heavy. They don't have an exotic to chase. You know what? Maybe I need an energy weapon. I guess I'll play one encounter. Okay, got it. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like that kind of stuff to me is just. I love hidden secrets and raids, and the Divinity puzzle itself. I think it's really cool. Go tag this stuff, go across, especially the one where you're moving plates. But to have that just viable in the first raid, no thing, because that needs to be something where
At least
whatever,
getting
even if it's like Outbreak from D1, where you go through and then you unlock canisters, and now I have this quest. Now let me go do this
right,
quest. Now
getting
let
the
me beat
quest
the raid
from
defense.
the raid rather than like never even doing the raid and doing it your first run like that for sure. I don't like at all, but
Mhm.
As something that I think would be kind of cool is if they did do it like attached to a quest line, but it's that you have to complete a series of challenges like throughout the raid and everything and get a seal, and the seal gives you the raid.
that
I
would
think that would
be
be kind of cool
that
because
would be
then it
pretty
would be
sick,
like really
actually.
force people to know their shit about that
Mhm.
raid.
Like if like
I think that's too
Enlightened
much,
gave you
though.
the. I mean, that would be a little. That would be very like opposite. Like this one
Very
is like
extreme.
like just do like 45 minutes of super easy stuff, get somebody to do the raid with you, you got the weapon. Versus like go flawless, do every raid challenge, get every armor and weapon from the raid. Like that would be completely opposite. I mean, it would be that would be cool though. Like I know a lot of people have talked about kind of having a both situation where it's RNG. You can get it from any raid drop. Could be your first, could be your 245th. The random number, totally not me or anything. Or if you were to go flawless, like I know a lot of people said, like specifically flawless, like if you do Petra's run, you should get a guaranteed 1K, or if you do whatever, you should get a guaranteed Anarchy. Like I think that would be kind of cool as a counteraction to the RNG. So you have the RNG, you could just do the raid until you get it. Or if you really want to put in the time and put in the effort to do something really cool, it doesn't have to be flawless. It could be anything. You'd have some way to counteract it rather than what they're doing now, which I think is a cool like after the fact thing. I really hope that they don't put this in for like day one new raid where it's like 10% drop rate and then up to 50% like just so you're getting it like guaranteed the first couple weeks. I think that's a cool thing to like as a catch up mechanic for people that are just coming back or haven't run the raid a ton and like want to get the thing right. No, I mean not just for you. I mean Seal still doesn't have it. Like and Seals has run it a bunch of times. I love you, Seals, if you're in chat. But like I think it's a good catch-up mechanic, and again, Seals isn't even in that situation. Some people it just as a catch-up counteract to RNG. I think having that mix combined with again potentially doing something really hard. As a counteraction to the RNG, but I do think RNG is important. I do think having some level of RNG does add value.
So this is what I would have liked in a perfect world to see for Divinity was instead of going to that Vex portal or whatever to get the quest, you got it out of the last chest of the boss, but not on the first clear, right?
First clear is
yeah. So like, you know how what they're doing with Anarchy right now, they progressively more chances to get it as you complete raids. So that's what I would like to do with them with the Divinity quest is like at the last chest, you got a chance to get the quest for Divinity.
So like Crota originally with that the like ball thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then you do the quest, and then you go back and raid with the end part of the quest to get Divinity. Then at least people would have had to clear the raid a few times before they even got the quest, and then they could go back in one last time to do the Divinity puzzle. And that would have been a way better way to do it, other than giving it people right away just because they went to the Vex portal on them. Like I thought that was just.
No, I agree with that. Just don't ever give it a 50% drop rate. I think that's dumb. I don't care how old stuff is, personally. Although, like I mentioned to Duke, I think they only did that with Anarchy and stuff because they are getting rid of those older raids, but...
That's true too. I mean, between that and between again, I think like once the raid has been out, like 9 months or a year, like I don't mind it having a higher drop rate to give people. Again, I think there's a couple good things about that. A, if someone's gotten terrible RNG and hasn't gotten it yet, it adds something there. Or B, if someone's coming back to the game and has so many things to do, then they have an actual reasonable chance of eventually getting it if they put in the time. And C, it kind of adds an incentive to go back into those raids for either, the people that haven't gotten it yet or people that do like helping with the raids. It kind of adds an incentive to go back and be, okay, now the drop rate's higher. Let's go back and do these raids. And, people that haven't gotten it, let's get these for you. So I think there is some positives to that in my opinion.
The other thing with the RNG weapon drops is that it's also so limited because you can only technically, if you are a fairly experienced player, you have 3 characters, so you have 3 opportunities per week to do that. So that kind of adds to the RNG being a little bit tough if it's a low drop rate, because it's not like you can just keep doing it and grind it out. You have to consistently do it 3 times a week, every week until you get it. And so that kind of plays a factor into it, especially if you're like a new light and you have 1 character because you're just trying to learn how to play the game, then it's really tough to get those because you can do it once per week essentially.
But I kind of like the RNG a little bit. Like, I love that Divinity was a quest. Would I like C-Dub and you all said that it would be harder for them to get it? Yes. But the RNG thing, I think it's kind of fun. Like, you don't know if you get it, you might get it, you might not get it, but then you have to go in again. It's like, I mean, I like that.
Right. It preys on you a little bit, I guess, right? Like, because, it's the, like, what's the word?
I don't know. The mystery of it, like it's intriguing.
Like,
will I get this
time? Right. There's some sort of like thing in your brain, like it's actually like science to it, but like I think that's good, right? Like there's some excitement that adds excitement. Again, for me, when we're going into Last Wish, and all those chests at the end pop up, and I'm like, somebody's like, "Yo, dude, pick my chest," and I'm like, "I'm a genius. I'm gonna pick that one over there." And they get the 1K. Like that's super exciting. Versus like, all right, now make sure you hold down X on this chest over here so you get your divinity. It's guaranteed. Like there's no real super excitement. I mean, I think the limited times where someone's been super excited, I mean, people are still excited about it, to be fair. But the same people still get really excited about it is actually in the quote worst case scenario where it's like, oh, I was doing this with LFG for 10 hours, we got to the boss and just couldn't beat it, and then they come back in, we do it, and like, wow, that was like super chill, super easy. Like those are the good experiences. But other than that, it's like, again, it's just knowing you're gonna get it for sure is, I think, it takes away from it, I think, in my opinion. I do.
It takes away the intriguing part of it, like, yeah.
I don't mind the RNG, but what if you had more than like 1 chance per character per week type of thing,
I don't think that should be a thing at all.
3 a week is fine. 3 a week is perfectly fine.
The first week, no, hold on. Goose, the first week that Spire was out, you would not believe the person's emblem that I saw, how many clears they had. There are people that have too much time on their hands and would just farm and farm and farm and farm.
But like, is that
That's fair,
necessarily bad? I definitely
Yes,
see
because
both
boss
ends.
CPs exist.
That's-
Like then you'd have to
yeah,
do stuff
yeah.
like
That's what I was
adding
gonna
in
say.
full clears to that and doing all of this. Like
But you could do that
It's-
anyway now, but obviously, only 3 a week. But I mean, a lot of people, just do the Scourge checkpoint or the Riven and the Heart checkpoint.
Yeah,
Like,
because there's no point of doing a whole raid
Checkpoint.
anymore
Mhm.
unless you want the mods from the Sparrow
Yeah,
raid.
but it's also not a looted run over and over and over on a character.
no, that's fair.
true.
You have your 3 times, not 120 clears this week, and boom, I got it. Like, and maybe I'm different than Glutton for Punishment, but again, we talk about Gallahorn from D1. It took me 1,102 hours to get it. How freaking happy was I when it dropped?
No,
And then
for
you
sure.
have the other side of the sword.
Yeah.
How much raid help did we do? I had every single thing you could have in Destiny, every dance, everything in the game except for the
Except
Wrath
for
of the Machine
Yep,
Ship.
the Sparrow. or
Every
the
week
ship,
I went in there like a passion. And when it finally dropped, literally the very last raid drop I had before D2 came out, I was ecstatic and I finally have it. Not everybody is that way, but I like those things where it's like I have, again, a reason to play this part of the game,
Mhm.
a reason to play that part of the game, or whatever. I don't like things being so easily handed to me. And I know they got to find that balance, a fine line, because you want a lot of people to play it. You want your player base to be bigger. But again, if it's going MMO, how many times do people grind thousands of things in, whether it's WoW or Diablo or whatever, to get the staff or the sword or the armor piece or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it all comes down to mentality of, and the biggest problem is most of the people that are like, oh, I want to have my exotic just drop after 10 raids, are the same people saying, I want something to play. Okay, new content's out. I'm gonna AFK this farm.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Which
just-
is it's funny.
I'll be
'cause
back when
Punisher had
it's
a
done.
question
And
about that.
well, I'm max power. I don't have nothing to do. And
Mhm.
the Witherhold was the #1 exotic there on my season pass when I opened it. So I don't need to chase that. And the Trinity Gold Catalyst, it dropped after my first strike, so I don't need to chase that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of right. The Catalyst, which I actually kind of want to go to another point about Catalyst, but in terms of raid Catalyst, because I think I know Johnny had a question or kind of a comment about this, and this is something I think I've talked about before, and I've heard people talk about before. But what do we think about adding catalysts, either back to old raids or to, upcoming raids for the raid exotic, potentially having maybe the raid exotic is easier to get through a quest line or through some sort of guaranteed way, or even if it's still RNG, but then adding on top of that a catalyst to make it stronger, to do more with it. I mean, we had that kind of in Leviathan with Legend of Acreus. You had, you got the weapon, then the next step you got a little stronger, and then you got the catalyst afterwards from the prestige mode that made it like ridiculously stronger, because it's such a huge difference. I mean, I never even really used Legend of Acreus until more recently, but it's one shot with 6 in reserve versus 6 shots with like that. Not only does that have like a huge difference on how much your weapon's holding, but you have the economy, exactly, the economy of the weapon. Like, there's so many different ways they could go about catalyst, but I think that would be an interesting addition to the game, is just adding more difficulty through Catalyst, which I thought originally was the point of Catalyst, was the exotics were so much different from D1 to D2. Like D1 getting an exotic, people in chat, you guys as well, Gallahorn, everybody remembers their first Gallahorn, so rare, so crazy, so amazing, like it's like crazy awesome. But in D2 they came out, exotics have been much easier to get, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought, they're kind of their answer to that, and especially even early D2 exotics were kind of weak. So I thought their answer to that was catalysts, make those a little bit rare. You can get the weapon, you can use the weapon, but to get it to full strength and to get it, to feeling more exotic, it's a little bit rare. It requires a little bit more effort. And then, you get the quote real version of the weapon or whatever else. And I think that would be kind of cool to, make the raid weapons that much stronger and also add more replayability. How do you
They
guys have
did
any
that
thoughts?
to some of the weapons, right? Like Sleeper, you have to do Prestige SOS.
Right, they were
like,
epics.
to make that,
For a
which
chance to
Skyrim.
get it.
that catalyst
Telesto.
freaking makes Sleeper so good.
Telesto
for
from
Eater of
Eater.
Worlds, yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
like they did that with
I mean-
some of the weapons, but now they're just giving us catalysts like 2 minutes into freaking this season. I got Trinity Gold Catalyst from Strike. Boom.
Yeah,
There you go.
literally first strike. First strike, I got it. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I mean-
like, but like, it doesn't feel good, right? Go ahead.
Part of the problem I have with things being so easy to get, obviously, is from my side. I like to grind things, but also the easier things are to get for other people, the less people I get to play with and help, because they have no reason to come back or need help, and
Yeah,
I love to help people.
Mhm.
And well, I don't need anything, so I ain't coming back. I mean, this might sound silly, but I know a ton of people that would grind raids if there was exotic emotes at the end of them that were really cool but really rare. I need to play through the
talk
raid.
about
I
the,
want that
boat
emote.
one,
Did you see that
Inspire.
emote? Like, it's something very simple. It's a simple aesthetic, but it would make people play the game.
We did
You
get
just don't do that stuff.
sort of not confirmation, but they did talk about that being a part of new raids in the future in terms of, you know, adding cosmetics, and I think they
True.
did specifically say emotes in one of those TWABs, you know, a couple weeks back. So that's a really good point, because I mean, people still even talk all the time. It's like, oh, I kind of want to do Spire for the you know, the boat emote. You're
The
sitting in the
sit,
sitting in
yeah.
the boat emote, and I'm just like,
The toast.
Spire,
Toast
stay
was very
away.
toasty.
But no, I think that would be really cool. I think that's a really good point.
What? They don't do that raid for the open emote?
I
They
mean,
don't-
true.
Right.
True.
I know,
Right, but it's kind of nice though, right? Because that one's guaranteed from the beginning, and I think that's a really good point. Like emotes, at least to me, like emotes are the one thing I still do collect, because it's actually like reasonable to collect most, if not all of them. So I think that's a really cool like little cosmetic that's more than just, you know, a ship you see in the loading screen, or a sparrow that you don't use ever because, you know, you're not going to these planets and they're all blown up anyway, so they're going to be gone. Like, I think, you know, or even a title. Like, a title's kind of in that same gist, but you can kind of be a little bit more expressive, I think, with an emote versus a title that you yourself can't even see. I think that's kind of sucks, right? Like, what if you could emote and then you could see your title above yourself? I think that'd be kind of cool, but that's a complete other
They're all
aside.
purple. Like, give
Change
seals
colors.
different colors,
Change
please.
colors.
Please,
I
Bungie.
agree with that, dude.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Although I'm
Like,
tilted
that's
that
so
there's two
simple.
flawless seals. I'm not gonna lie.
Right, but
Well,
it would be
I would-
fine if one was like red and one was gold or something like that. Like, that would still that would be.
Or
like,
you could just
simple.
change, or you could just change it. Like, if they like let you pick your own colors, right? Like, I feel like they could just have a
I
color
thought
wheel
about
of.
They
that
give you
too,
shaders
like-
for seals.
I would like something
What
to distinguish, like how early you got the seal, or
Or that, something
Kinda
like
cool.
that.
or something just to distinguish it different from other ones. Like, granted, I didn't get some of myself till later, but I think that would give you more incentive to grind them sooner, because you want to have whatever, the gold notch, or I mean, whatever they could do with it, the gold brim, or whatever.
Go ahead, Mel.
A cool thing though that would be super cool. Remember the auras from the guided games, from the
yeah.
Nightfall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine if you got
The
those
visuals.
with the seals,
That would
like
be-
corresponding to
that would
colors.
be-
Like that would be
That
so
would be pretty
cool.
dope.
I
Actually,
prefer
yeah.
my flaming head.
As long as it didn't break the game,
miss
like
my
we
flaming
couldn't stand on the plates. Of
Right.
Last Wish,
That was so dumb, right?
Why would
Because
they break the game?
because they did
What?
for
You
like
remember
you
Last
you
Wish?
couldn't you didn't take
I remember
damage
Last Wish.
Yeah,
on the
you,
plates, but you couldn't shoot the gun thing if you had the like hat or whatever on. Like, it was really weird.
The aura?
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
had the aura,
Yeah.
you couldn't
I never
do
had
it.
that.
Yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing back then. It's pretty
On
weird.
the side note, if they ever bring anything back from D1, it needs to be my flaming skull and my flaming wolf head.
And the
Good
ghost
stuff.
chat. Get him to get ghost
Let me
back,
have my
please, one
I
demonstrator.
time.
want those back. The
Right.
devil ghost. I want devil ghost back.
Mm-hmm.
I had that one too.
All the good, but all right, like having I think that's a really good point. It's like more expressive stuff, and again, like for me, I'm, you know, someone that prefers function over form, I would say, in terms of like, I want the cool thing that does something versus like, oh, this looks cool. But like, if it looks cool and I feel like I earned it, that's different. Like, I like things that look cool but I actually earned it, versus like Eververse. It's like, that's not, or even if I get it from an engram, like, okay, I leveled to get an engram, but like, I personally like never use anything really that I didn't like earn. Like, that, I think that to me it gives a lot more value to like me enjoying it. Like, again, C-Dub is just learned this recently, but I love the 0 hour ship. Like, it feels like I earned that. I feel like that was really
The
cool,
garbage
and it looks
can.
right. No, it
That
looks
is
quote
that is
terrible, but I like it because it's mine and it looks
One man's trash is another man's
right. No, I like stuff like that. I feel like that's cool. But, you know, I think that's a really good point, DFan, for sure, is having, you know, having cosmetics, and again, more visual cosmetics and things that really stand out. Again, like emotes would be really great.
Yeah, imagine if you could grind a raid and get your eagle emote from Fortnite, where your guy bends over and flaps in the wind. You'd be in heaven.
Right? No, that'd be sick. But I had another
I
question.
was-
Oh, go ahead, Mel. You go for it.
Yeah.
You go for it.
Nah.
You sure? I mean, I'm planning on going very off topic here. So if you have any last thing on this, go ahead.
Oh well, I just miss like the prestige armor, the glowy part for those were so freaking
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
specific.
You mean like
I
glow,
would
like
love
Glowhoo?
more of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, again, people hated Glowhoo.
please.
But like, I love Glowhoo because it stands like things that stand out and people know this is
On
from
fire.
X, Y, or Z. I think is really cool. Whether it actually quote looks good by like
That's
factual.
why I like emblems so much.
And I think
Oh
the
shit, he's
the new
solo
flaw,
flawless the
right? The
dungeon.
new solo flawless emblem is pretty cool.
Mhm.
I like that. I think that's really cool. All right. But okay. So we have a new question. Who this was Punisher that asked this a while back, but this is a kind of more pressing topic, although we've kind of seen it happen in the past. But how do you guys feel about the new, again, not new, but AFK Forges thing that is kind of starting to plague everything? I know there was a tweet, I think, by Charlemagne Bot or whatever, but like 60+% of
It's crazy.
people, like 60+% of activities that have been played in the last day or last couple of days were AFK Forges. Like people doing like just not, they're failing forges or forges in general. I don't remember if it was AFK Forges or forges in general, but like, do you guys think that that's should be punished? Do you guys think that there should be, like, Bungie should be stepping in to do something about this? Obviously, like, fixing it. I think personally, I think at the very least they should, fix it. But do you think people should be, actively punished? This isn't something that you could do accidentally.
No, definitely not punished.
Not punished.
Fixed?
No,
Yes.
because Bungie made the mistake of putting it in. However, if you can disable trials for the weekend, disable the fucking forges until you fix it. Like, you're ruining your own season's content. That's leading up to the thing. I understand things are gonna get through the game and be broken, but any person taking advantage of the AFK Forge, I don't blame them. Okay, it's easy street. They want to click that button. That's on them. But Bungie could very easily disable the forges.
Yeah, but this
Like,
goes back to goes back to base D2 stuff. We've always had this problem where they care more about PvP stuff being fixed immediately than they do PvE stuff, and they've shown that time and time again. And again, I'll always go back to it. The first time Exodus crashed was the Nightfall. It was literally broken. If you were a normal person, you could not beat it because there was one specific thing you could do to add to the timer to give you enough time to beat it. If you didn't do it, you couldn't kill any oracles. You couldn't extend the timer. And that weekend was the weekend that the walking emote was letting people clip through the walls, and they knew it was a really big problem on Altar of Flame. So they switched the trials map the first day trials was out. They left that Nightfall up all weekend or all week, and it made no sense. Like, stuff like that's always happened. It makes no sense.
I think they have this skewed thing of where PvP is ruining other people's experience. Well, so it is on PvE too, and I think they just don't. They don't.
Right. I think they don't hold. Right. They don't realize that the people like us, the people that care about stuff like that, exist, or they just don't care about the feelings, right? Because it's not necessarily immediately impacting somebody else.
Because that's a good point.
I mean, I think the other side on that too is that with PvE, the people that are playing PvE and grind it, they're going to play it no matter what, and they're afraid to lose the PvP player base with this, especially as short as everything has been, because they feel like it's half of their game. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, I think they think PvP players are a hell of a lot more likely to walk than PvE players.
I think that's fair, and I mean, originally my thought, but Warbucks kind of made a good, decent counterpoint to my own thinking, is PvP it impacts people immediately, and it impacts like you're facing other people. Like if somebody can cheese Atheon or something, like it's not like Atheon's feelings get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like,
like then that person gets a mythic class that cheesed it, and then they walk out and they can cross map the first day. That mythic class.
That's fair.
And then it impacts somebody.
Right, it does. It's more down the line impaction versus like immediate direct impact. Of again, I went flawless for the first time. Oh wait, the lighthouse is broken. I can't go. Like that is immediate impact. And no, for sure, it definitely sucks. But like you said, I mean, even like you said, the cheese, impacting someone down the line, or like you said, more immediate impact. Like that was an immediate impact with Exodus Crash not being beatable, basically. Like that is something immediately impactful. And yeah, like it's not. Like it's still there, but and they've even shown recently, not super recently, but more recently, I believe that they have changed a Nightfall semi in the last couple months at some point when something was broken. I think I don't remember. I feel like that rings a bell. It's doable. I feel like it's doable even if they don't like they could just change. They could change what the Nightfall was, or again figure something out. But again, that's also week 1 of Destiny 2 or first couple weeks, maybe second or third week, versus now they've had 3 years to kind of implement things. Maybe there wasn't a way to fix it back then, or there's definitely things. But like you said, some of the cheeses are even semi more recently. Last Wish, them leaving the Riven Cheese-In and Forever. Like again, by the time that they maybe could have fixed it, it would have been too late, and there's already been too many people that have done it.
What I don't get is like if you do a raid or a nightmare hunt or a strike or whatever, and you don't complete it, you don't get rewards. So why did the Forge just give rewards upon not completing it anyway? If it wasn't for that, there would be no AFK farm.
Is it dropping from the completion of it, or like the
literally the way it works is people, let's say you lower yourself to 750 light, which would screw new lights, but let's say me, you, and Duke go in, right, and we just were 750 light. We set our controller down. Every single time it fails, boom, you get mats and materials. Boom, you get mats and materials. Boom,
yeah, I know about that, but I thought they were just dropping from like ads being killed or something. But then
no, literally,
AFK, no one's dying, right?
Set their controller to the side, don't have to touch anything. They go to sleep. They chill out and sleep.
I just
fire
don't
pits,
understand
whatever, every
why
now and
there's
then.
why are there rewards for not completing something
Exactly,
successfully,
yeah,
or
yeah,
even,
yeah.
or
That shouldn't be
even
a
Right there.
thing.
right, or even like if they do want to make it so that like I mean forges, like if you're not completing forges successfully on a consist, like again maybe there's one where your blueberries
Well,
are just
at least
terrible,
get the round 2 of
but
the
like
forge,
right,
then
right,
the
yeah,
forge
like
is
at
something.
least yeah, exactly, like that's exactly what I was gonna say, like at least get like one round, like you get a percentage of rewards based on how far you got. Like if you did you killed 0 enemies, you got 0% success, you weren't playing. And if you weren't playing, you don't get rewards. Or even if you were playing and just got 0% success, you should not be rewarded for 0% success. I don't mind, you know, if you made 1/3 of the way through, you get 1/3 of the rewards. That makes sense. You got 2/3 of the way through, you get 2/3 of the rewards. That makes sense. If you've made 0 progress, you should not be rewarded in any way, shape, or form. I think that's an easy fix. And I don't like why are we rewarded for literally nothing? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yep, yep.
Any other thoughts on any of that?
Go Dolphins.
Go Dolphins!
Hey, let's go.
Right, and I mean, and just to add to the, I know Punisher had also had the question of like, should it be punished? Like, I don't know. There is a part of me that's like, this should be obviously like, you shouldn't do this, and it's not like you can do it accidentally. Like, there is a part of me that's like, I feel like it could be punished, but like, I also understand, like, it's a precedent thing too, where I feel like if they were to do something like that, it would be something where they should, you know, mention it ahead of time type of thing, not like, you know, retroactively punish people when they haven't done that type of stuff
What
in the
do you
past.
think is the proper punishment for this?
That's a good question. Like I could say that all the time. Like it's not like if you're gonna just like ban people for like that doesn't make
Yeah,
sense,
that
right?
would be
Like
too
what?
extreme.
Yeah, right. That's too extreme. And
The
how
other problem in my mind with
do you
that, and
punish
it's not
it?
Destiny, but take Anthem for example.
Mhm.
Glad literally showed somebody how a glitch worked,
Mhm.
and they banned him from the game
Right.
for a
you-
1-second glitch that didn't
Yeah.
do anything. So I think that's setting a scary precedent
It
of them
is.
being able to just
Yeah.
start kicking people for what they want when they could very easily just.
That's really
I don't
good.
care what they say. Maybe people need forges. They could very easily disable it for a while. Like
Mhm.
it's not that hard. They do it with plenty of other things.
Yeah, I think
I don't
just
understand game
factors
design
in.
But
fully,
I-
but hello.
I still don't think it should be punishable.
Mhm.
Like, take it out, yeah.
Right.
But punish
Yeah, I
people
wouldn't
for a
punish
thing
either,
that's
'cause-
there. Like, no.
No,
I
I mean,
also wouldn't
Especially
punish
because some
because-
people,
yeah.
some people wouldn't even understand that it was quote wrong.
Mhm.
Some people that come in and be like, oh, my friends are doing, oh yeah, I'll do that. I need those materials. Okay, what's the big deal? Not understanding the fundamental philosophy issues with what's going on.
The other question then arises is, do you punish people as well if you're punishing them for the forge? Do you punish the people who did the Wither Horde boss cheese? I mean, that like literally
That's-
just destroys an entire section of multiple raids. Do you punish people
What do you
for
say
that?
for what?
the
the
thing
Wither
where they're
Horde boss
the new
one-shot
grenade
shoots?
launcher is like one-shotting or whatever if you stack it correct or.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really
So
good
if you
point for
punish
sure.
the forge, do you punish for that too?
No, I think that again that's the precedent thing where it's like if
Yeah.
you do one, you have to do it for everything, and it adds a lot. Like
The
it-
slippery
it-
slope. is
Right,
all.
it's a
Big
very
time.
slippery slope. That's a really really good point, and I think that's yeah, no, it is again like C-Dub asked me. It's like how do you punish somebody? I feel like there's really no punishment other than you know either a straight up ban or like a time amount of ban, like but that doesn't feel right in terms of what
Your
like
reset to new light.
yeah, like I mean reset them, but like can you reset you reset to new light? Yeah, just remove
Yeah, that
remove
could
all their
reset me, I'm
weapons.
sorry.
Like
What
that
they
would be
could do is
Fly me out to Bungie and talk to me and tell me not to do it again. Okay.
yeah. What they
Right.
could do is lower the time in which you get kicked to orbit to just before the time limit of a forge. But that would probably affect a bigger majority of the game. But I mean, that could
I'm
be
just
a
telling you,
solution.
just don't give rewards for
Another-
0% completion, right? Like, I think that can they not
I mean,
do that
that's just simply like
Right.
that's just simple.
for everything?
Another
bit.
simple thing that you could do is like with the comp, you have to always go in and start the activity. Then you can't have
But
anyone who farms it.
like, I hate that though. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
that would
literally get
like
stuck
that's
there.
true.
I'm
That's
thinking-
true.
Yeah,
That
but
would
when
fix
are you
that
doing
Change
like
that, you could do it
100
for your
forges?
menu,
When are you
like-
doing 100 forges
For
in a row? Like you
blacksmith.
do 3 when it's first
for
off.
blacksmith. What if I haven't got blacksmith yet? I mean, that's true. Like
you
if
go talk to Ada. What do you mean?
fair, no, that's fair. That's fair. I
100
mean,
times.
you're right. No, I mean that would be a fix. We know for sure that they can do that, and I think it wouldn't be that end of the world, and if that was the way they fixed it, it would be, it would work. I hate comp specifically. Like that's the thing I hate the most about comp is the fact that you have to re-enter the queue every time. Like I just hate, like, it's so
That's a good thing,
frustrating.
though.
But it is. You're totally right. You're totally right that would be a good way to fix it for sure too.
No, I mean, like, it's a good thing for the comp too, like, so you don't like accidentally load into another game when you were gonna
no,
go away. You're like,
that's
oh
fair
no, I
too.
think they found a game too fast.
Right. No, that's totally fair, and it's more
Because-
competitive. There's the same thing for trials. They do the same
Yeah.
thing as you don't. That's totally true. It's totally true. Owen's saying I think the max punishment would be removing all their current engrams in the inventory. I guess my thought on that, Owen, is like I feel like if people are doing that, like they'd have to be really fast on catching it, right? Because it's like by the time they do that, it's like they probably already used them, right? Like I'm not sure, but
they can't catch blatant freaking cheaters.
Right,
in trials,
right,
but
right,
they
yeah,
wanna
right.
sit here and patrol
Right.
AFK
Again,
farms
they have bigger problems. Again, this is talking in my brain of like if everything was, perfect and everything was taken care of instantly. Like, none of that's actually possible or ever going to happen. But yeah, much bigger problems with trials and, things that very much impact the game. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
other question is, should we care? Like, so what? These people are
Thank
getting to
you,
max
thank
light
you.
level. Like, that doesn't affect my gameplay at all. So what? Okay, so they grinded out, they cheesed it. I wanted to fulfill myself to feel that I like achieved something. So I played the game the way it was quote unquote intended, and the way the grind was intended. So should we really even care that the forge is like glitched out and people are using it?
But it does, though. Going back to Warbucks' point about Vex, like, Trials is disabled this weekend, but, if somebody, didn't have a ton of time to play, but didn't want to do the, quote, cheese, maybe they're, like, 1020 or 1030
Okay, I see what you're
versus
saying.
somebody that got to 1060 doing this, then they're 20, 30, 40 levels ahead in Trials. That's competitive, that matters. And so it definitely can matter. And I think there is also, again, a world in which there is some sort of, quote, value to getting to max level. Like, somebody else, more people getting an achievement, quote, does in some ways devalue the achievement, even if it doesn't, quote, affect you directly. Like, it's a loot-based game. It's a, accomplishment-based game, and other people getting that. Go ahead.
Literally on that note, eventually I'm going to take the emblem I currently have off because it will become easier and more people will do it. But right now I have it and there's like 50 or 100 people in the world with it, and I'm aware because I got the solo flawlessness early. And it's always been that way.
What happened with Pit? I rocked the Pit emblem for a little bit with
still
my
use
solo
it.
flawless, and then I took it off because everybody else had it.
Because the time had come, the reasonable time had passed to where you were like, all right, I got this. It was rare, now it's not, and it's gone.
Yeah. Again, that's going back to the rarity, going back to things that look cool or like stand out. I think that's like a really good point.
So when the next raid is as hard as Last Wish, let's just be the only team to clear it.
Let's go. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's actually a pretty good question there, Mark. Yeah, I mean, going back to going back to like FOMO and stuff, how do you guys feel about titles in general? I know we've talked about titles and seals in terms of, different colors or different this, different that, or like Defend had said, potentially different things for how quickly you get them. But how do you guys feel about, the newer titles being kind of seasonal based and then you can't go back and get them? Like, how does, I mean, some of that is, that you have
had
the
that
whole
all the entire
season.
time.
Right.
Like
They did have
things
the
disappear.
Does he mean like permanently going forward? Any title that comes out, there's a limited time to reach it.
Mm,
I'll be honest with you, I'm fine with that either way.
right.
As long as they're up front at the beginning and don't all of a sudden be like, oh, by the way, that title you didn't get a couple months ago, we're pulling it tomorrow.
Yeah, and
Let people know, because
Yeah.
not everybody cares about titles, but some people do chase them.
yeah. And I mean, again, we
know.
know, well, like Almighty, we knew was going to go away at the end of the season, and all the ones similar to that. But like, how does that then like for Flawless or Conqueror, kind of ones that are season based but not really, and then you have a chance to get them like in the preceding season? Like, it's really, those are, I feel like, really strangely done. I feel like Flawless and
I
Conqueror,
think it's dumb that
especially.
there's two flawless ones.
Yeah, like, do we know if
there's
that's
another one there?
Do we know if
And I have every
that's
title, so
bugged,
now I
or-
kind of want it, but I don't want to have to go
Warbucks
through that
Religion.
again.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna matter. I just think it's just a because I think the triumphs, I guess, if you want to go for all the triumphs, that's a different thing. But the seal is the same.
Right.
Like
It's
the
just
thing
the-
with Hunger,
the
The
it's
question to
annoying,
me
that's
is
what
why
drove me
did
off.
like they kept saying they were going to reset them at the end of the season, which is fine. Why didn't the triumphs literally reset if you didn't have all of them?
I
that's true
agree.
too. Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
Yep, they
Like if
should've
you
done-
had some of them, they just wiped that triumph score from you until you got them all. Like I don't see
Yep.
a problem with that.
Yep, I agree.
Be interesting. Be very interesting. Again, it's just a weird. Those are weird ones, right? Like, because again, we have some that are permanently, like the Dredgens or the Riven's Bane, or like the ones that have been there for like since Seals came out. And you could go for them however you want to. We have the ones that are season based, and you have
There's only
we
what,
know
two-
that
is it Undying and Almighty?
All
What are
Dying,
the two
Almighty,
seasons?
what
Is
was
there
the
no-
Dawn one? Savior. Even like MMX,
Savior.
IX, XD, so random, whatever the
That's
heck
true,
that one
there's one
is,
now,
like that,
second.
like that one wasn't
How many
season.
titles are there? Like 16?
There's a lot.
17?
There's 2.5 pages of them now, but so I mean, some of them, are like that. But like for me, it's weird. Like especially, I mean, I never ended up getting my confidence card last season, so I don't have the flawless one. But like, I did all of the things for flawless other than confidence card. Like, why does just because the season changed, that mean suddenly that like I have to do all those other things I already did again? Like it's weird. Like it's like I honestly would rather it either A, that I still have my progress and I still just need the confidence card, or B, just I can't get it anymore. Like I think this is a weird like middle ground. I don't really like it very much, but I don't know how you guys feel
I
about
agree
it.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
Either you can or you can't.
Right.
I like the stuff this season base, but again, like maybe the reason why they said that, like, because I still don't understand, like, because you didn't get it, right? So do you only
Right.
have one flawless title that shows up for you?
Yes, I only see one right now.
Yeah, see, and I see two, and I think that's dumb. So maybe that's part of the reason why they said that.
Yeah. Like,
But it's still broken.
do we know if that's like bugged or if that's like supposed to be like that?
Well,
Like,
I mean, it shows 2, and the second one shows 1 out of 5, showing the only thing I have is the armor collection.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Right.
But now I'm tempted to try to win 100 million raffles again, because now that I have every title when I thought I'd never have
talking
one
about
broken, I
PvP,
don't wanna have a blank
Hyde-Me!
spot on my page. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
which is my own problem. I get it, but
So yeah, so you should have just not done it last season, then you only have one.
I
and
know
be
now. Shit.
simple, easy, dude. Simple and
I
easy.
worked hard for that thing,
Right?
because I suck at PvP.
You and me both.
And
Bro.
PvP is
Yeah, me
spooky, dude.
too.
Me
Oh,
three.
we just got a whole bunch of PvP
PvP.
scrubs in here.
So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
we're
leave
all-
the
we're all
lobby
I mean,
again.
somebody
I'm
was
gonna
saying-
check out.
Somebody was
Listen,
saying we should have had a
after
PvP
400 public events.
focused person in here. But this is a raid focused podcast. Sorry, friends.
Uh-huh.
we're staying on the raid side,
Yes.
but
Find the door to leave.
right? No, but those are really
I
good.
Robux. Just kidding.
It's in the form of a red
PvP
circle
raider,
Robux.
exactly. What did Warbucks say?
Don't leave me.
No, he said he wouldn't find a back door, and I was just kidding.
No, that's not even it.
That's for after dark. Never mind.
Right? I'm trying to see if there's any. Did anybody else have any questions in the chat? I'm trying to go back, and I know that there was more. Well, Jim actually made a good point, kind of going back to the punishing thing. In terms of punishing being bad, look at Gambit when you get errored and could get kicked from games and then couldn't even play when it isn't even their fault. Like that's definitely a good point. I mean, we just kind of, I think we all, well, you guys all agree that punishing was bad. I was kind of like on the fence of like I want reckoning for these people, but at the same time, I don't think there's any good reckoning. So no, I think that's a really good point, Jim. That's super fair. And again, there's been a lot of kind of the same, like again, precedence on that. Let's see. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if we got any other things. Do you guys have any questions or things you would like to talk about? I know we have to have the Goot second on the list order, but that's like the end. That's like when we're
What
done.
is that?
That's
What
that's completely
No
it has
one
nothing
knows.
that has
No
nothing
one
to do
knows
with
always
Destiny.
if
That's
I'm
like
having
that'll
that's
be
like
at
a
the very
personal story.
end. We'll let everybody go and then we'll just have me and Goots talk about that at the end because that's important, but that'll be after the Destiny related things.
I'm ready to botch that story.
No, it's a really good story. We gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it. But what do we? I don't know. I feel like anything you guys want to talk about? Any questions, concerns, comments, thoughts on anything coming up?
I don't know. What are we talked about the reveal or whatever, but what was the most? What excited you the most? Like seeing the stuff from Beyond Light, or seeing the stuff for the Witch Queen, or none of the above? Like what got you the most hype that day, except for of course crossplay, because even though it's
Well,
coming in
yeah,
a year, I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
But
crossplay. I'm super obviously excited about. I think the transparency is honestly the thing that got me the most excited. The fact that they were willing to go out on a limb and talk about this year's stuff. I mean, to be fair, like if you look at it, with a fine line, fine details, like they didn't really tell us that much, honestly. Like there's like I mean the stasis subclass is a pretty big deal in terms of what's coming in September. But they gave us a name for Witch Queen. They gave us a name for Lightfall. Like that's not that much, but to know what their plan is going forward, that there's no Destiny 3, that they're trying to kind of keep things in a expansion-based way, and that there's kind of an actual straight-up plan on other. What the heck? Why is that still a thing? Oh, and your troll. But
sometimes less is more, though. They can give you just enough information.
Right.
And I mean, even on the Lightfall box, it's a pyramid in front of the Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
So is that going, directly to the dark side? The Witch Queen instead of the Taken Queen, whatever. But it is more transparency than they've ever given us before, and just complete honesty about what they were trying to do.
Exactly, and knowing
who would be holding them back from transparent. I wonder.
No, that's
I
think it's the A word gun. But I think that my main thought on that too is D1 got rebooted like 700 times, and like right before, like 6 months before it came out, D2 got rebooted, all this stuff. Like now they have like 3 years in advance, they know where they're going. I mean, they could still reboot if they really want it, but like it seems like they've got this is what they're doing, this is what they're going to do. There's not going to be any like rebooting crap, wasting resources and time and then not using it or having to like refocus it into something else. Like they know where they're going. I think that's what excited me
like we
the
talked
most.
about. I don't think they ever split with Activision if they didn't know what they were doing. I don't think they ever take that jump because they're not just betting this game for us to play, they're betting their future as a company on what we have coming up.
Right. It's not that hard to make us happy. I don't think we don't want too much.
No, you right. Pacific Loot, let's go. No.
Right.
Letting the imagination wander is a powerful thing. I mean, I was in a call with a bunch of people who have played through previous like D1 and have been in Destiny 2 since year one, and to hear how excited they were, I almost piggybacked off of that. I was almost like, oh, this is really this is like exciting. Who knows what it's gonna be.
Right. And, that's me too. Like.
And everybody keeps talking about the fall expansion, and I'm just like, well, it's only June. Let's go, September. Where are you? I want to see what all this hype is about. I want to see what like this.
I'm already prepping for
the fall expansion has never let us down. I want to see what that's like, And it's just that kind of word of mouth that is really taking this to another level. And even watching the Twitch chat freak out. I mean, Bungie's Twitch chat was going nuts.
Right. No,
over everything.
That's
like,
people love this game.
Too. Yeah, people love. I mean, again, that's what I kind of said. I don't remember when I said it, but like the fact that there was 200,000 plus people staring at the sky for the Almighty to like that shows that like there is people love this game. People want hype. People want exciting things. People will piggyback on that excitement and that hype. I think that's a really good point.
Bungie
like
knew they
me,
would watch that too. They knew.
Right. Right.
And I can't wait to see what they do with future live events. But again, I think was that too long? Yes, but I think part of that was stress test and the new UI or new engine they're using.
Right, and it was something that they never did before. I think it was a really, to me, it was very successful. Again, I agree with people that have said it was a little bit long. I don't think 90 minutes is like insane. Like people are like, oh my god.
Again, I think the time expectation, like having no time expectation, was the big problem.
Especially because with Steam Leak or the Steam page, they knew it was going to be an hour and a half, so they should have just been like, over the course of this hour and a half. But I think they also, and maybe in hindsight to look back, but I think they wanted it to build like, what's going on here? Well, I don't have forever, but at the same time, I'm not going to leave because I want to see what's going to happen here. And because I also think they wanted 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 people on their servers to see what it would do. They just weren't transparent about that, I don't think. Whereas if they would have said, hey, guys, we're doing this live event, it's going to be about an hour and a half, but we need all of you there so we can test out and see how this is going to work and enjoy the show.
Right.
Everybody had been there. Hell, more people might have shown up.
Yeah, just say it's gonna happen over the course of an hour and a half, just so people don't wait an hour and a half to get to the end part.
Right.
I was afraid to go pee.
Right. Well,
I didn't know how long it was gonna be. I was late for my plans. Like I told my friends, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm 45 minutes late.
I do think there's some value to the like non-knowing of how long it was going to be, though, for sure.
Anticipation.
Right. But
again, I think there's a way for them to have worded it before it happened to have given at least a little bit better of a time expectation.
Like it felt like it was just gonna happen at noon. Like that's kind of how I looked at it. I thought it was just gonna happen at noon. Like I didn't even log in at noon because I was doing things. I had stuff to do. I was like, I don't even really care about that much about this. But then I saw, like, I kind of like snuck in, look at Twitter or whatever, and I was like, wait, this is still going on. People are talking about. Like, I'm gonna go log in now, and then I got in.
Twitter.
Right. No, I got in kind of for the more exciting parts where things were actually happening, but I think it could have just been shrunk down because the last, like, as you actually saw the like missiles coming in, I thought that was really cool. Obviously the last like 5 to 8 minutes was amazing. Like, you could really see things happening, really building up the anticipation, and having some of that time for anticipation where things weren't too happening. That's a good thing, I think. But yeah, 90 minutes total was a little long. But again, I don't think it was that crazy.
Yeah, and the silver lining from that was like the memes that came out of it were just amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
The memes are good. Love memes.
over the whole hour plus like time frame, there was just like
Twitter was a
certain
great
things.
place to be the entire
It was just
time.
an amazing.
wasn't it, though?
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I mean, people want to come back to this game. People want to come back. People want to be excited. People, like, again, there's any reason to come back. I mean, between the Bungie hype crew and the hype videos and everything, again, like you guys have said in chat, like they're great at that. But people, I really do feel like at the core, this community in this game has a better player base and a more devoted player base than pretty much any other game like ever. I mean, again, I haven't played every game, but I mean, out of the games I've played, it's an incredibly ravenous and incredibly passionate player base. And they just want things to do, and they want to be hyped, and they want to kind of know what's coming. And I think that Bungie did. Again, going back to the reveal, talking about the reveal, is I think they did a great job with giving us some information about what's coming, letting us know what's going to happen. But again, like Goot said, we don't want to know everything. I don't want to know everything. I think that some of the season calendars that they've done in the last year, like some of them are too much. Like I don't want to know like this day is when this is going to happen. And this again, Bastion kind of got screwed by that, I think, a little bit. But I think having an overarching thing of like, okay, this is kind of what's happening, this is what's coming. I think that's really, really good. I think they did a really good job with that.
And I mean, they really hyped up the dungeon too. I was a little disappointed that the mechanics were simple. I know people are saying that they do that so that you can run the solo flawless, but you can ask Warbucks. I was running it with him and Seals, and we were running it, and they were letting me figure out all the mechanics on my own for the most part, apart from like a couple questions I had type of deal. But for the most part, it was just me figuring it out. And I had watched the Bungie trailer where they said light is dark. And I really took that to heart, and it fucked me up.
It's like use the light to cleanse the dark.
I went with light modes into a dark deposit and just killed myself.
Right.
And I was like, well,
wait, does that kill you if you do the opposite one? I never even did that.
Yeah,
I did it, and it took me down. It like destroyed my shield, and the knight just looked at me and went,
yeah, that's
slapped
funny.
me once a couple.
It's great.
But yeah, they really hyped it up, and it was awesome to see. I liked the dungeon. I like the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
They've always been art and music and gameplay. I think Bungie has always hit on 100%. It's great, absolutely great.
The only thing I miss is some
jumping puzzle.
Like seriously.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
where's jumping?
The Sparrow Rainbow Road thing,
Doesn't count.
like
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
That's Rainbow Road. Where's my jumping?
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, I think that was their play on it for this dungeon, and I think
I think that's the substitution with Scourge doesn't have a jumping puzzle. It has the Sparrow race.
Right, they have some sort
I
of
want the jumping there too.
Right, they've always talked about having kind of the epic thing. Like I think they do a really good job with this, where it's kind of like sporadic, like spread, kind of like how you feel. Like if there's a really difficult encounter. Where it's like super combat based and super like focus based, they always follow that up with like a more jumping puzzle or like low key type thing. Although for a lot of people, myself included, sometimes the jumping puzzle can be the more crazy and intense and more focused part. Like it's like, oh yeah, the jumping puzzle is the low key thing, and I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Flawless runs, no.
Right, or like for my flawless pit, like the wizard part after the totems, that's not low key at all, man. Like screw that wizard jumping puzzle, man. That thing was spooky,
Get
dude.
better at jumping, Forehead.
Right,
I need to get better at seeing, bro.
All right, that's that's a different kind of problem, though. That's not you not being able to jump in this game.
Right.
I'm so bad at D2 parkour that like in the top of my screen is etched misadventure.
Oh my god.
But like I want the jumping. It's so fun. Like take the Whisper mission, take the 0 hour mission. Like those are
Yeah.
missions.
Especially
Those
the
are
0 hour.
dungeons. But like those are so much fun. Making those cool
Oh,
jumps and like all of it. Like I love it.
Yeah, I
I
think
miss that.
there was room for a little bit more like exploration or not knowing exactly where to go. Which I guess the Wasteland is kind of a little bit like that, but it's not jumping. It's just
I've
kind
done
of a
walk
whole.
there. You
Yeah,
can
like
ask
I still don't
Paul,
really know where
you
I'm
know,
going in the
like, where
Wasteland.
am
I
I
just kind of
supposed
go
to
places.
Oh.
But
I think
yeah,
it's cool. Speaking of the Wasteland, that they have the different Mars and Titan stuff, and
Yeah.
in there. And
right.
then there's a Dreaming City piece later on, which makes me wonder, like, if they're gonna end up getting rid of that, like in the dungeon, the half shield thing that's broken from the Dreaming City.
That'd
Obviously,
be.
that wouldn't be a September thing, but maybe that means it's something down the line.
Well, I
since
know
that
there's
is in the future.
rumors. I know there's rumors. I mean, well, not rumors. It's pretty confirmed that this dungeon's going to leave after this season. But I know there's rumors
Yeah,
that
I
there's
saw
actually
Cosmo
going
make a
to be reasons for that. Not like technical reasons like Cosmo said, but like story-based reasons where it would leave and then come back potentially slightly differently because of story-based reasons. So that would
And
be.
I have to assume that entirely just encapsulates Drifter's stuff because we're in his ship to start that dungeon, and
That's
we
true.
obviously already know that he's going to be a big part of Fall.
Right. Absolutely. No, now it got mixed. It got messed up. No,
It is messed up. Oh, no.
this is not DFan. Wait a second. Hold on. I gotta. No.
One thing about the
Hates
dungeon,
me.
though.
What's up? What's up?
I
I see.
Shit.
Mal
Go,
is
go,
defend
go
now.
ahead. Go ahead, Goots.
I got
Sorry.
better looking really quick.
Go ahead, Goots.
But Seals and Warbucks almost left me in the dungeon alone
What?
because
What?
Toland. I didn't know who Toland was, and I called it Navi from Legend of Zelda. They got
He's jumping around in the dice
so
room and he keeps
mad.
going, the sparkly thing, the sparkle. You know what? I'm just going to call it Navi for now.
Navi.
Me and Skills are just both like, oh my lord, stop, please.
Oh my god. That's
The
funny.
disrespect.
Yeah, while you're moving that, capitalize that F, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to move it, but it's so hard. Oh my god. I'm gonna do this. That's right. If this ever happens again, we'll be much more prepared. But I feel this has been pretty good. But no, that's awesome, Goots. Oh my god, it's gonna move back. God damn it, Mel. What are you? Why did it go back? Oh my god. What is it? What is happening? All right,
The
back over
sun
there.
came up. It was so bright. I had to put on the blinders.
That's okay. I don't know why it like moves you there.
Yeah,
Good
make
enough.
my
Mal
name
and D-Fan get bigger names. It's good enough. But no, that's a really that's awesome. I think we got one more question. I want to leave. I don't want to make this like a 20-hour thing for you guys, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys, coming on and taking the time to be here. But I got one more question. I think that's pretty solid for a lot of us. Goots, you might have to take a different perspective from this, but I do like the question from Punisher. And I think that there's even a little more depth to that we can go to for this question as well. But he asks, as Raid Sherpas, what do you guys hope to see in a carry, and what would be your worst nightmare in a carry? And I think that I'd like to, talk about, just in general, potentially even talking about like different raids and how we felt about teaching those raids and stuff for those of us that, again, Goots, you're a little bit newer, but I know you want to start trying to be able to do that in the future, so you can kind of take an angle from that as well. But feel free, anyone, if you'd like to answer this question.
In a carry, like as a like.
Well,
what
no,
a
I think
player,
he means like as a help, like to Sherpa someone, to teach someone new. I think a lot of people use carry and Sherpa interchangeably. Again, personally, I don't believe in just hard carrying. I mean, there's certain scenarios where it happens, but go ahead.
My question
I'm
was
still
like
not fully understanding.
Yeah. So my question was, is it like, what do I want from a person
Yes.
that I'm carrying?
I mean,
what do I
that's
want from like the whole thing?
The team
of-
that's helping them carry.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
Right. No,
yeah, that's what
I mean, I think you could. Yeah, well, that's a good point. I actually like both of those questions. You could answer whichever side you'd prefer, honestly.
Okay, so for me, what I want from a person that I'm trying to take through a carry or Sherpa or whatever you want to call it, what I want from them is the ability to listen. That's
Right.
literally it.
Mhm.
If you cannot, and then that just ties into the worst carry as a person is when you cannot listen. If you're gonna
Right.
argue my point every single time, or
Mhm.
if you want to do this and do that, or you saw a video, get the
Oh
hell
yeah,
out of my
yeah, that's right.
way,
Yeah, it's like I watched this.
I don't want to.
I watched
Oh,
this-
I watched
this
Battle. I
other-
know the raid better than you.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like you go do your own. If
exactly.
you know how to do this, then go do it
Like-
yourself.
Exactly. Like that's all I want is just the ability to listen. And if you don't have the ability to listen, I cannot help you. You're just gonna make it harder for everybody.
Right. That's it. 100%.
I mean,
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I would say I want two things. One, like he said, listen. But the second thing, honesty. Like, don't tell me you know how to do
Mhm.
something and you don't.
Right.
Oh yes.
And the worst part about listening is you're listening. Okay, CAP, but I'm in the wrong spot. You don't do ACP. Well, didn't I just explain
Right.
that we do CAP or whatever? Just listen and then be honest. I don't give a shit what your weapons are. I don't give a shit how much you die.
Right.
Just listen
Mhm.
and be honest.
Exactly. And I think I think for me even, I think it's like a situation where it can be even worse if somebody's ran it a couple times and think they know what they're doing, like what you just said, DFan, where it's like I'll let's say I have somebody that's never done it, and I'm explaining it the way that I teach it and the way that we do it, but then I have somebody in there that's done it maybe a couple times and then they just like tune me out, and then that's exactly what happens. It's like, oh, I thought we were doing ACP, or oh, I did it this way before, and it's like, I don't care. This is the way we're doing it. We need to all be on the same page. Like, I just explained this, and like you should kind of pay attention to what I'm saying, especially if you don't like if you have like a ton of experience, then it really doesn't matter how we're running it. You could do it anyway. Like again, I've done raids. Like I remember I was doing flawless with C-Dub for Garden of Salvation, and they did pretty much every single encounter differently than I was used to. But like I did the raid enough times where it's like it doesn't matter. Like I know how to I know what the goal is, and if I had like a question where it's like for sure where do I need to stand, I could ask it at the quick moment. But like it's like there's different ways to do things, and it's like I think that it's important to be able to be flexible. But if it's like if you're going into someone else's raid and they're trying to teach somebody or teach multiple people or teach you specifically, I think that the most important thing you can possibly do is just listen. Again, questions are very good. I think questions are never bad. If you don't understand, please ask. Don't just say nothing and like just hope that things go well. Don't be like, oh, and I think also importantly, I've definitely had situations where people pretend that they know what they're doing but have actually never done it before or things like that. Like I've actually gone to the point where if I don't recognize someone and I haven't raided with them before, I will literally look them up on Raid Report. Not because it's like, oh, you have to do 20 clears or you have to be this good at this, but because I don't necessarily trust everyone to actually say what they've done.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Right, exactly. So I'll literally look them up on Raid Report just to make sure that like, okay, like you have done this a couple times or you haven't done this, and like I'll explain things or teach things and such and such. But yeah.
Another thing that I don't like you can go ahead because I'm gonna.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So another thing that I don't like from a person that I'm trying to take through is if they give up on themselves too quickly, or like they get down on themselves really, really fast. Like I've had a person who couldn't jump. Like in first encounter of the raid of GOS, they couldn't get past from the first room to transfer to the other room because they couldn't jump over those two little damn things. And before we could even direct him in the other path, he left the damn fire team. He's like, I can't do jumping puzzles. Which is 2 jumps.
Right.
He's like, I can't do it. And he left. No. But literally, he was just so damn disappointed in himself. He left. He didn't want to hold anybody back, and I hate that. Like, once you took up a spot in the raid, you wasted people's time, and at the same time, we could have helped you.
Right. There's so many. That's one of the things I really do try to pride myself on is if somebody really struggles with jumping or this or that, or just like really doesn't have like any experience really playing Destiny but wants to do the raid, like I feel comfortable figuring out a way to get the raid done and to have them have a good experience as best as possible. Like there's ways to go around it. Like obviously there is like a this is how we usually run it type of thing, but it's like if there's a situation where that just won't work for X, Y, or Z reason. I mean, I've run with people don't have mics or don't have the ability to hear us even. Some like hearing us is pretty important. Like that tends to be bad. But if no mics is no problem. Like again, there's different ways to go around things for that. I have ways to help people no matter what it is. But yeah, I definitely, I wouldn't say I'm angry about it or something if somebody's down on themselves. But like again, I pride myself the most on those types of raids where people really don't believe in themselves, and then you're able to help them and show them that they are capable of doing this if they have the right support around them. I think that's really important.
Yeah, same.
And it's like those are my favorite raids, honestly, is being able to help those people again, like running with people that a group of people that I've run it with 100 times. It's fun to chill and just do that, whatever. But that's not fun. I couldn't run these raids 200, 300, 400 times doing that. Like that's just the same thing over and over and over again. People ask how you do the same thing. It's not the same thing to me. Like if you're constantly teaching new people, new things happen. Like, again, I say this a lot of times too. Like I've seen almost everything that can go wrong, I've pretty much seen. It's super rare. Every now and then you see like something new, and it's like that's exciting. It's like, oh my god, I've never seen that get screwed up in that way before. Like that's
Especially
cool. Like
when you complete it.
Right? No, exactly. Like it's such a cool experience being able to play with different people. And I've even said this more recently too. I know it was a meme when Luke Smith said it, or was it Luke Smith? I don't know if Luke Smith. Somebody said it, but like the friend game is the end game. But that's like kind of true, where it's playing with different people and having different groups and having these situations to do, be able to play with people that don't believe that they can get through the end game content or be able to do these things is the quote end game to me, because that's what is fun. Goots, would you like to add something?
that's
Or
me.
you're just saying that that's that.
And
I
that was
mean,
you for your Destiny
well,
2
I
I mean, that's why I started doing 1.5s on LFG and D1. And once I learned how to raid, somebody taught me how, because I had never done something like that, and I just wanted to pay it forward, and I enjoyed it. And some of those raids took, I'm not kidding you, 17, 18 hours of revolving people, but I stuck to it. And I mean, I'm an average gamer now, but I appreciate the fact that I can help people, because it's a fulfillment. I always wanted to be like a teacher or coach, and Destiny kind of does that for me.
Same, actually. Like when I was much younger, I always wanted to be a teacher. It's weird because like I had never had the personality whatsoever to be like that, but I still don't. But somehow it just kind of comes out. It just kind of comes out in raids where I can somehow like, take that lead, where I feel like a lot of times that's not me really, where I can just lead something or feel comfortable and confident enough to do that. But in raids specifically, I do, and it's cool, and it's definitely it's fun. Any other additional thoughts, concerns, things, stuff?
I was trying to think back on the original question of like, what do you don't like, or what do you like in a carry?
Right. No, that's a good. So I'm sorry. Because you looked at the, and then we definitely talked about the side of because we talked about the side of what do we look for or want in somebody that needs the help. But what do we look for per se in somebody that says that they can help us, like as as an assistant Sherpa or whatever you want to call it, right? As a raider that you bring in to like help like to actually
your ringer,
help teach,
or whatever.
Yeah, your ringer, yeah, exactly. Like how to. Any thoughts on that? Because I think that's pretty important to
do
me.
more than one job.
I think that's
flexibility.
Flexibility is absolutely 100%. Like again,
Awareness.
back to the whole thought of people that have run it 1 to 2 times or even more times that again want to help. I think that's like the biggest pet peeve I have is somebody that's like, but I've done it this way, or this is how I do it, or this. Like again, I don't care. Like I am capable and we can do it however anybody wants to do it. And even if it's quote my raid and I brought the raid together, I don't even care then. Like if somebody is like so adamant about like this is the way we have to do it, I wouldn't even mind that. You're teaching the raid then. Like if I'm teaching the raid, teaching the raid, we're doing it this way. If you want to do it this way or whatever else, like that is absolutely 100% fine. That would be great. Like I'll just sit back and chill and just talk to chat or whatever else. Like, but it's your raid to teach. Then and people then when that happens, people are like, oh no, it's fine. Like blah blah. Like nobody wants to take that responsibility, right? They want to be like the leader in their brain, but they don't want to like take the responsibility of then having to deal with the success or the failure or the whatever else. So
the thing people outside looking in might not understand, and this is probably the same for C-Dub and the raids he goes, our strategies or the strategies we come up with are built around the ways that we can best do the most things possible to help people. Right? So it might not be the way you run it, but it's the way that we can be the most efficient and help the most people in a decent amount of time.
Yeah, because I only take 4 or people. Like I don't take less than 4 people. I only have one other person helping me, and we take 4 people, and we have to structure the raid differently a little bit in order to get those 4 people through without failing every 5 seconds. And you can't do certain things certain ways because you got to depend on like I don't trust nobody. So like,
that's my philosophy.
I need to make sure that everything is doing. That's why I always build when I'm teaching, because I can see everything and I can save runs as well. Like
exactly.
If I ended up running Gambit, there's no way I can save something if somebody got shot by a Cyclops or we need an extra person to go in.
Pull.
You're
pull. Shoot the leg. Shoot the thing. Like sacrifice. Like oh my god, pull. Like come on, bro. Right. I think that's really important to me too. Is like being in the spot that can see the most. Like that's why I love Crown of Sorrow so much. Is the whole raid. You can see everything. Like, yeah, you can only do like quote half the stuff, but like you can see like everything is always like contained in one area. I mean, like going back in a lot of different raids, like that doesn't happen very often. Where like Vault of Glass, constantly there's you're in the portal or you're in the other side. I mean, Vault of Glass is different, but like or Crota, like I mean, do the sword. The Crota I didn't do a ton, but like let's look more into like let's look more D2 raids. D2 raids.
He'll get
D2
there
raids.
eventually, chat.
D2 raids. Leviathan. You're either in the vault like the Callus room or the Skull room. You can't see both. If something's going wrong, you can't see it. For Eater of Worlds is a little different, but Spire, you could either be going up or you could be staying on the plate. You can't be on all 4 plates. You can't be on the left and the right. Like Spire is like okay. Like Spire was kind of the original raid like this, where I did much more like call out / like visual, like watching. Like I feel like I watched Spire of Stars more than I played it. Like in terms of in the raid, like I would literally coach people more than I was actually doing anything myself in Spire of Stars, is because there's so many things and so many things moving. And I mean I think Spire almost went a little too far in that direction for me, and I didn't particularly enjoy that, but it was whatever. Last Wish, again, another great example of on completely different sides. If something's going wrong on the other side, you can literally do nothing. Scourge of the Past is another better one. Like you can kind of do more, but you can't. You can do a lot in Scourge of the Past. Scourge of the Past is pretty good for that type of thing. Crown of Sorrow, again, Crown of Sorrow is my favorite in terms of that. And then going again to Garden, you're the portals and outside, you can't. You're split constantly in Garden. The whole raid of Garden, you're split constantly. You can't be on both rooms for the first encounter. You can't be on all 4 corners for the second encounter. You can't be on Gambit and Eyes for the third encounter. Like you're very split.
Could be Gambit and
I mean, I guess sort of like that's right. No, that's. I mean, no, I've definitely done like both. You can't be on both at like the exact same time. You can't see what's happening. Like you can't. Like Crown of Sorrows specifically, the whole raid, you can see the whole play space in every encounter, I think is kind of what I'm saying in that, where you can, if something's going wrong, you can see it before it happens, and I really like that. That's very much aside at this point. I've been talking for a while, so if anyone else wants to jump in, feel free.
I want to go back to saying like what I want in someone who's offering to help me to help other people. Like y'all said versatility, but me, I need to be able to trust you and as a person, because I don't need you getting frustrated with my raid group that I'm taking through, right? If you have the wrong attitude when we're doing this, I don't need you to be there. I'd rather take an extra person from LFG and do it and teach 5 instead of you coming in and helping me getting frustrated with somebody because they can't do it.
Means everything.
Exactly. Like I need to know you. I need to have played with you. I need to know you personally. I need to trust you because you're going to be making
right. And some of it too with that is, you're going to have to make a bunch of call outs for helping the other people that haven't done it, like that you're trying to help. You don't have the time to also be checking on the person that's going to be helping you. Like you guys got to have like kind of an unwritten and unspoken connection where they're just doing what they need to be doing. Like and if something is going wrong, like on one side, and you have to kind of make a change to the way you're playing it. It's not just like cookie cutter, like everything's going perfectly. If something goes wrong over on one side, that person understands the encounter enough to do what needs to be done to make sure that they can like cover for you or cover for whatever else if you have to go cover for somebody else. I think that's a really good point and really important in that.
I mean, that goes back to why we ran Crown as the way we did for so long, was because it was literally me, you, and Defan just constantly knew what the other was. We always, it was almost never verbal. Like the extra callouts were never verbal with us. It was always, we knew if something went wrong, how to make up for it, and immediately to go change it before it deteriorated farther.
And I really loved that, honestly, the way that broke down, because it just made it exciting.
And that raid still, like I still love Crown of Sorrow just because I feel like it's the most D1 raid in terms of those hero moments. Like I feel like there's just so many situations where you can just make some crazy there's just so many little things you can do to save there's so many little things you can do to save the encounter, to save the raid. And again, I even the last couple of weeks that I've been running it more, like it's consistently organized chaos. I don't remember the last time. I don't think any raid I've run in the last couple of weeks has been smooth in any way, shape, or form, but it's been solid. Like it's not smooth but solid. Like every raid gets super chaotic at some point, but everybody, like it just feels so good to like be able to focus through that chaos, get it completed through that chaos, and have people at the end are like but also feel accomplished. Like it feels a lot more accomplishing for everybody that's in that raid when it's epic and when it's like there's a lot going on and things are going kind of wrong but it's still going okay, versus you know, we just killed the boss in one phase, we rocketed Riven's mouth, or we one phase
see,
this or
That's
whatever.
a shame because that to me is my favorite fight in any all of Destiny 1 or 2 is the Riven fight. I hate that she can be melted. I hate that she can be melted.
Riven's a super.
Like, and I know Warbucks was memeing about Thunder Crash, but the single best in the moment play I've made in Destiny 2, nobody even knew what happened until I showed replays, is when we were carrying that team and the Gold Run's Deception was outside the thing and the tractor cannon wouldn't move him.
Yeah, and
I
booping
Thunder
him.
Crashed him and it pushed him in the way of the blade to save the wipe, and then we got the kill that we'd been stuck in that raid for God knows how long.
Clutch
Should have
plays.
won movie of the week, the bastards, but whatever.
True, we tried. We tried, man. We tried. It's a really good point. Any other thoughts?
We were allowed to have thoughts here.
Yes, I do have a question for Goots on this. If nobody has any thoughts on specifically, Goots looks very suspicious.
Goose run.
Okay, so my question is, because Goots, you have a different perspective on this type of thing. So like and I know you've done, you know, we've helped run some of these raids with you more recently, not like super recently, but more recently. Like how do you feel as someone coming into these raids for the first time, and how do you most enjoy getting to experience it? Because I mean, even like yesterday, I know you got to do the dungeon and kind of learn things for yourself, and that type of thing. Like how do you feel as a newcomer to a raid, you know, kind of being taught it and explained to it versus like if there was a situation somehow where you could kind of go in, like obviously like months later, it's hard to go in blind and it's hard to go like be like, okay, like we're gonna bring in like all these other people, but we're gonna have this one person that we're bringing in and let them figure everything out. Like we can't really like do that, but like how do I don't know if that's really a question, but how do you feel in terms of all that?
So the story that I have the best kind of summarizes it is when I was first playing Destiny and my friends got me into it, and I only had the free version, which meant that we could do the Leviathan raid together. And we went in, and as like 800 light, 850 light, we tried to 4-man Leviathan, and it was Gauntlet. And we didn't look up a guide at first, so we had no idea what was going on. We tried to figure out the mechanics and everything, and eventually we got it. We did end up looking through a guide and trying to figure it out, but we gave it our best shot to figure out the mechanics on our own. And then once we couldn't, we looked up the guide, went through. We got to the final encounter of Gauntlet where everybody's running together, and one of my friends screwed up. And we all got everybody got so demoralized except me that they all quit, and they haven't touched the game since. But that wasn't enough for me. I had to figure. I wanted more. I've always been kind of into the mechanics of games and trying to figure out how things work. How can I push the game? Like, what are the boundaries of possibility? So I'm sure you've seen it. I'd pick up mechanics fairly quickly. I don't mind necessarily if someone has to teach me the mechanics and tell me how it works, because for me, hearing it is one thing, but then once you see it, it's totally different.
Right.
Like when you explained ice to me for GOS, for the, I believe that's the third encounter, I was like, kind of had an idea of what I was expecting, but then after I went through it at least one time, I was like, okay, now I get it. So I've always been really interested in mechanics, and it doesn't really matter to me whether it's I figure it out on my own or if I get taught it. As a new light, because I understand that, especially if it's a streamer help, like I don't want to have everybody sit there watching the streamer stand around doing nothing while I run around aimlessly shooting things hoping for the best, right? But if it's like my stream and I'm trying to figure it out, that's a little different. But, in terms of being taught, never had a problem with it. And again, I know a lot of people who play aren't the most mechanical players. Like they just want to run around and shoot things. That's part of the appeal of Destiny. So I come at it from a different approach. So I think it's a little more beneficial for the raiding mechanics, especially now that I hear that raids are more mechanically intensive in D2 than they were in D1. Whereas D1, it was a lot of like, pray to God that the freaking ads don't take your head off.
Right.
So
hobgoblins, dude, or minotaurs.
Dude,
just
the hobgoblins in the dungeon just
could be those stupid ones from the Wrath of the Machine that punish you for getting headshots.
Oh yeah, those are stupid too. Like, but
yeah,
I think a good
Zebra
mix,
was
right?
a bad idea.
It's good.
Oh, they're coming back, bro.
Changed my mind.
You said that raids in D2 were more mechanically heavy than D1. Is that what you said or heard or whatever?
That's what I've heard. Is that there's more kind of mechanics.
I don't agree.
That might be true of the Riven fight, but not. Yeah, that's like.
No.
I just mean more focused towards that.
Or a bunch of boss melts in Destiny 2. That's all we have in these raids, man. We don't have no type of mechanics in D2. I'm sorry. Like in D1, you had the oracles, you had the freaking shield. This is just Vault of Glass. Oracles, the shield, the teleport, all
The
that
relic,
stuff.
yeah.
The relic, everything, and that you had on King's Fall raid. You had to hold up the relic thing, then stand inside of it and kill ads to keep the timer extension with the totems and stuff. Then you had the sisters where you ran around with the when the random person got taken and climb up the thing. We had so many mechanics.
And the
in
warp
D1.
breeds too.
Like so
Yeah,
many
so
mechanics
hard.
in D1. What mechanics do we have in D2? We have
I
just a last wish. It's nothing
Moats.
but
well, yeah, that's true. But,
Churro, melt freaking Cali, melt freaking Morgoth, melt freaking Riven.
but there's mechanics to that. I mean, Riven
wasn't-
should have been a mechanical
Riven
raid.
wasn't
Don't say
cheesable.
cheesable. That
For
fight
sure.
is fantastic. One of the best they
Mhm.
built. The problem
Right.
is they shouldn't have had her damageable for the top floor in my mind, or she should have had a hell of a lot more health, because the fact that you can just bake her ruins that whole entire fight.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't even realize that if you shoot the correct eyes and then you go up to another floor and there's
They
ogres
don't even,
everywhere,
they don't
and
even know it exists.
if you shoot all
honestly,
those
right?
eyes, then you drop down, you have to shoot spots on her back. People don't even know they exist because they made her too weak,
Mhm.
or a weapon's too strong, or whatever it is.
Right.
That's
No.
what I'm saying. Like
Riven
so
deserves-
the
deserves
mechanics
fight.
are there. You can just easily bypass them. You
Yeah, they're
can't do
bypassed.
that in D1. You can't
Mhm.
do that. in
No,
Mhm.
you don't
I
kill all the oracles in Vault of Glass, you dead, wipe.
D1. Dead.
Right.
But does,
And you
does
lose your
being
freaking
ab-
super too.
Mhm.
True.
does being able to cheese something mean that the mechanics are moot? Like, do we just have to ignore them then?
It kind of is
at that
because
point?
everybody
They
just
end up
skips them.
they end up being that way. I think my point, and I've definitely been one to say, I do think in some ways, and I do think in actually a lot of ways, D2 is more mechanically intensive than D1. Not because, I mean, again, like I think you made good points of the aura for War Priest, or the relic for last or Vault of Glass, or the sword for Crota. Like all of those things are one person. Like pretty much everything in D1 that had to do with mechanics was one person. Wrath of the Machine, I think, started coming into being more teamwork based, where it's you had to have people spread out across the map to be able to get their enlightenment to slam Axis, and things like that. Like I think D2 has really built on that, where everybody has more. It's much more teamwork. It's much more communication. It's much more mechanically teamwork mechanics versus like one person uses the relic and everybody shoots him. Like I mean, again, you could look at it like the relic is a really mechanical thing, or you could look at it as 5 people are doing literally nothing but shooting the boss. They stand there and shoot the boss. That's literally it. Or you could look at again, same with War Priest. If we're looking at that, one person has to shoot the thing at the last couple seconds to reset their time and to give more time for the DPS phase. The other 5 people literally just shoot the boss. Or when you consider comparatively to like a grade like Garden of Salvation, pretty much everything is reliant around people rotating in and out of doing different jobs. Like the first encounter is first you're with you're babysitting the boss, and maybe they're not overly complicated mechanics, but they're more than just sit there and shoot the boss. You have to babysit the boss, pick up the cube. Everybody has to do it or someone's going to die. Then you switch roles where you have to push forward, open up the door. You learn kind of every role. I mean, and yes, there's ways to get around. Like you could have one person sort of do nothing, and you could rotate through things. Like there's ways to quote hide people in that type of way, but pretty much usually, if you're teaching it in a relatively normal way, pretty much everybody's doing something, and something that's important to the raid rather than just shoot the boss. Like if Garden of Salvation was more similar to a Vault of Glass situation, it would be much more like the person just stands there and then stands next to the relay and shoots the boss at the end. Like that would be kind of the comparison. I mean, I guess again, there's oracles, but even then, a lot of people like Oracles is a good example. I think Vault of Glass was good.
There's 3 random
but
people
Crota.
well, once they fixed it, because you used to be able to stand in the back of the room and get
Right,
pulled.
right. There's
But
definitely
3 random people, and then if you get
both.
3 people in there that don't know how to pick up the shield, like
Right.
I had happened in plenty of raids when I wouldn't get pulled.
Mhm. Right. No, there's
But
definitely.
I do see what you're saying. I mean, I guess the biggest problem is with a lot of the Destiny 2 stuff being like so super meltable that the mechanics are hidden, which is a problem.
Mhm.
But Valkyrie is a very mechanical fight where we're doing a lot of different things.
Right.
And
I
again,
love that fight.
Riven too, if she wasn't cheesable, to me is the best built boss fight in the game. That's my
Right.
opinion.
No, Riven is an
But-
insanely cool fight, and it just everything when it's
Doing
going
that, week 1 or 2 or whatever was
ridiculously,
excellent. Like, I loved it. Like,
ridiculously hard.
I mean, even Callus, like, and this is very on the low end, but like not one phasing him, having people go back into like, there's people that don't know part of that floor disappears in the void realm.
people don't know that.
That's
Yeah,
true,
people don't
that's
know
true.
that.
Like on day 1, I watched my teammates get sucked into those holes constantly because they were being stupid. Like
Mhm.
Yeah,
you
not
don't know that
realizing
thing
to move left and
even
right.
happens.
I
Mhm.
think
Well, I mean, the same with Prestige Bass. Most people don't realize that there's symbols that appear that
Right,
only
it's
4
like-
other people can see.
Yeah.
And
Right, or
Everything
even
was-
people don't realize that the bathers drop stuff because you can kill them so fast now that they
Mhm.
just
Right,
they kill them
right.
as they spawn,
They
so
don't
they're
even know
never
they
in
put a
danger
thing
of
up
touching
there.
the purple.
the
And
balance
that takes like 5 seconds at a time off your clock or whatever it is. And
I actually
Right.
learned that recently. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right. that's crazy. But I think the balance of boss health and things of that nature is really what breaks a lot of these things. Again, like Crown of Sorrow, especially pre Shadowkeep, when auto reloading wells and things like that was the biggest joke of all time. Like I think that was a good encounter, and I mean nowadays it is definitely much harder to one phase, and having to do a second phase makes that, I think, a much better boss fight to me. And I mean, again, it's not overly complicated, but there's a lot more.
The game like that.
Right. No, I think that was just beyond busted. Lunafaction Boots was
Not that I
beyond
didn't have fun
busted.
with it.
Yeah, it was great. It made you feel really strong, but I feel like they didn't balance very well around that. Like it was just literally, if you had 2 people with the right buffs and everything, like it was over.
I mean, it did help you. The one thing about the auto loading and you and people like you, like, it did help you have raid experiences where people had no idea that you put up 11 million, and they had a great raid experience because you beat it.
right, and then you could
we're
just make
stuck
up
there,
for so
but
much damage and just do an
Unless you wipe and you see
insane,
11 million, 2 million, 1 million,
Right.
600,000.
do an insane amount of damage, right?
I swear I was shooting his crit. Are you sure you weren't shooting the flag? I did 0 damage, but I hit him with 5 as he shot. Oh wait, that's GOS. Sorry.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, I like that.
I think the other thing about being a new player is a lot of mechanics are actually hidden and not really explained very well. So if you don't know anybody that you're playing with or don't know an experienced player, it's really quite challenging to figure things out. Like
Mhm.
Xenophage fires like a sniper rifle to me in terms of the rate. So I
Mhm.
was always tapping it.
Mhm.
So my damage was really low. And then people are like, Xenophage, like literally yesterday, were like,
It was
Xenophage is
yesterday.
fully automatic. I was like, are you
Right,
joking?
right. It's like, wait a
See,
second.
lot
Started, I
of
was like,
people don't know that.
oh
A
my
lot of people
gosh.
don't know Xenophage is fully auto, and they shoot it like a scout rifle, and it drives me crazy.
But
That's
the game doesn't explain
Doesn't it say
either.
that on the gun?
I'm not sure.
maybe. I honestly don't. That's a good question. I think. I mean, that's a
what the gun says.
that's a
people
really
read?
right. Well, see, that's a really good point. And we're gonna leave that. We're at one more question now, if you guys don't mind. But like, I think that's like a really big problem in Destiny to me is the readability, quote unquote, of mechanics or the way things work. Again, I think that things that are hidden, like a new raid, like they shouldn't tell us how the raids work. They should have that be hidden.
Oh God,
They
no.
shouldn't
That's the
tell
best
us.
experience in the
Right? No,
game.
like that type of stuff should be very, very, very hidden. It shouldn't be hidden to know like how much Rampage does for you. It shouldn't be hidden to know how much Outlaw does for you. It shouldn't be hidden to know like what these
Dude,
like
they
how
know.
much like greatly increased. Like what does that mean? Like those things should
go
be
watch Shadowrun.
very, very right. Like there shouldn't need to be people going out and doing like the math to figure out how much these buffs give, how much these things do, how much things like major spec versus boss spec versus
I
taken
definitely
spec.
do not disagree with you, and I feel like what I'm about to say next makes me sound like that. But it is fun to figure those things out sometimes. It is
Yeah.
fun to be like, well, is this better than this? I'm going to go spend an hour testing these weapons and then find out. But again, I don't think that is very short-lived, where it's no longer than beyond that fun,
Right, and it's hard to look at like in a big picture when they're, especially if they're trying to get deeper into any sort of MMORPG type of side. Like if there's multiple things like this, it's really, really hard to, to kind of look at it at a glance and figure out which one's the best out of these things. Like if there's just like 2 different options, then it's not that bad. But if you're starting to look at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like different weapons or different mods or different things, and you don't know which one's which, like, and how much each thing is doing, like, how do you compare? Like, I just think those things should not be hidden at all. And right now they're not explained pretty much at all. Again, like how much, like Rampage is, I don't know, like what does Rampage even tell you? I don't think it really tells you past like it gives more damage on a kill. Like it doesn't tell you how much. Like it, again, and a lot of these things have been figured out because they've been in the game for a while. And if you like, I don't even know these things, and I'm someone I feel like is pretty passionate about the game. There's no way somebody that just picks up the game for the first time or even like plays it relatively a decent amount of time but doesn't like have a really experienced person to ask, like you'd said, or whatever else, or wants to go and do their outside research, is going to figure these things out. Like I think that those things should be much clearer.
Fair.
Mhm.
And I mean, even like on light.gg, and this is super superficial level, but there's the weapon stats, which is what everybody sees, and then there's hidden stats like how much aim assist it gets, how much zoom it has, the recoil it has, the bounce stat, like all that information you have to dig really deep to find.
Mhm.
And that's like a superficial example, but there it goes well beyond that, if you guys, as you guys have been saying.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Is there any last thoughts? I'm gonna go with no.
Depends
Why
on
am
what
I here
last
again?
thought is.
I don't know why you're here. Anyways, I think unless anybody has like any last pressing things, I feel like that's a pretty good way to end it. Other than Goots, you're staying here for a while because we got some things to talk about. But
My pool's on fire.
no,
I'll
but
see you later. It's raining outside. It's not going to put out the fire. I'm sorry.
but yeah, no, I don't know. Like that's just crazy. That was over 2 hours. You guys were here. That was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys had some fun.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
I don't know. Like
I'm
this
ashamed
was.
for saying that,
This
but-
was super duper cool. And I don't know. I definitely would be down to do it again sometime. We'll have to see how people feel.
Me too.
But
I definitely
too.
haven't been farming bounties this whole time.
wow, Warbucks hasn't even been paying attention. You heard it here first, chat.
0%
I was
surprise.
thinking
But,
about doing the same thing. I'm like, nah, let me give this my full
Oh
attention.
my God,
I'm
you
too
guys
lazy to
you
farm
guys
bounties.
are trolling. Well, I'll let
Destiny
you.
takes too much brain power for me.
I will
I
let
think,
you guys go ahead. Deacon.
Especially getting closer to the fall, we should have something like this where we discuss the differences between a day one raid and stuff. Because there's a lot of people that want to do day ones that don't understand it doesn't start on day one.
Right.
That way people understand. Because really, you should be prepping now as far as
And
weapons and
starts on
stuff.
day negative
you know,
104, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, about
I mean,
100,
yeah, but
104
I'm just
days.
saying closer because people are going to start having more and more questions. I think a lot of people just don't understand like between the level grind, the weapon grind, the armor grind, what goes into it. And I feel like that would be a good discussion to have for people that would be interested in forming fire teams with their friends and going into day ones, but maybe don't know where to start.
Mhm. That makes a
You
lot
need to
of.
find your teams now. Start
Right.
playing with them.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it's
again,
like
start farming weapons and all kinds of stuff with stuff going away.
Yeah,
absolutely.
you won't be able to use Mountaintop Recluse in the next raid.
I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
All right,
I'm
do
pretty
it.
good
Yeah,
now.
you're
So
gonna-
I'm not
both
playing on
guns are
Duke's
gonna be
team.
good.
Wow, toxic,
I'm gonna see
dude.
if Glad has a spot open.
Toxic, dude. Oh my God. But yeah, no, thank you guys again for being here. I guess we'll do a quick outro if you guys want. But we'll start with Mr. CWG. Again, anything you wanna say to the peoples?
I mean, I don't want to really say much except for thanks for having me here, dude. This was a lot of fun.
Yes.
I know we talked about this before and finally happened. And
Yeah,
it was
so a
cool.
couple
It was,
months-
it was way
months-
less nerve wracking than trying to like find other people in Guardian Royale. Like this is just more chill with
Right, that
friends
was
and like talk about
that
the
was
game
that was my goal, right? And I think that was part
Yeah.
of why I didn't do like again, I didn't do a whole lot of like prep or anything. We just kind of went with it. Again, I wanted this to just be a chill, just hang out with our communities, hang out with each other, and just talk. And no, this was awesome. But again, thank you, sir. You're free to leave if you'd like, but or you can stay for a while. It's up to you. But Mal, if anything you wanna say to everybody, thank you also for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun, and we can't wait to hear that story about the second on the list.
Yep, we
Oh,
got
God.
Goots. Goots, you're gonna be you're
Oh,
staying here, so we're
God.
we're skipping you for now. But again, thank you for being here, Mel. Appreciate you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. All right, bye. And Warbucks again,
Bye.
second Fractaliner in the entire world. Do you have anything to say?
69 forever.
There you go. Warbucks is immediately gone. Thank you. Let me get you
And
a
also
shout out.
wash
You're
your hands.
too fast for me.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Mr. C-Dub. I appreciate you. And Mr. Defon, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
And not much here. Just appreciate everybody hanging out, whatnot.
Mhm.
200 pounds down. Can't wait to hit 300.
That's
And
awesome.
thanks for having me.
Absolutely, sir. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Let me get
Always a pleasure.
Mr. Defon a shout out. Okay, there is already